morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the WTRL Zwift Racing League. We are out on the big foothills, and this is a brand new league that is coming at you for 10 weeks out here out on Zwift. There is a premier division at the top level that riders have to qualify for. That's happening over on Zwift Live. We just saw that yesterday between the men and the women. And then we do have a community league that has zones throughout the entirety of the day. This is Dave Towle. I'm Nathan Guerra. We're Zwift Community Live, and we're going to be covering all of the zones throughout the day. Dave, super exciting to see this sport growing.
We are locked and loaded, Nathan. This is a huge deal. The community has asked for this, and we are here to deliver. I am so stoked for the Zwift Racing League. And yeah, yesterday was great. This is your chance now. We've got racers all over the world. Nathan, 946 men's team, 196 women's team. It's on.
Yeah, this is going to be absolutely amazing. How many teams have signed up is great. I've never seen so much of a reaction from the community before. Now, just so everybody knows, as a heads up, points race, team time trial. Points race, team time trial. Today, we've got a points race. So they're going to be alternating throughout the 10 weeks. Team time trial is going to be up next week. And it's kind of taken off the back of a lot of what we've been covering here on Zwift Community Live with WTRL's TTT. It was so popular, we brought it into the Zwift Racing League. So also, you can still sign up, everybody, just so you know, this is not closed at this point. It's not closed down at that 1,200 teams. We are now going to be opening up tomorrow again. Get a team together, register up for your zone, whatever works for your time zone. You can still jump into the racing league.
Yeah, and we'll have a chance, Nathan, as we look at a 50-kilometer race today. It's a great course. We'll learn a lot about the racers. We have so many things to talk about the point structure. You've already mentioned that this Zwift Racing League, we have 10 races to build up the series. So it'll be about points throughout all 10 weeks of racing. And as you said, too, that team time trial is going to be a lot of fun for folks that have never done it before. With our friends at Zwift and WTRL, we've been able to combine the scratch race and the team time trial to create what's going to sort out for us the best riders and best teams around the world. And I love the fact that just like in England's Premier League in soccer, the best teams in your league will advance up and the teams that struggled will come down, and we'll continue to sort things out there.
Yeah, also, just so everybody knows, on Fridays, we're going to bring all of the racing together in a way with like a Sports Center show. It's going to have a show that's going to be called The World of Zwift. It's going to be hosted by OJ Borg. And we're going to bring in a lot of the talents that we have throughout the broadcasts. A lot of the personalities that we'll be having: Matt Stevens, Hannah Walker, myself, Dave Towle, and some of the other talents that are now new here to Zwift Community Live with these zones are going to be jumping in there, as well as featuring everything that your teams are doing out on the World of Zwift with the Zwift Racing League. But let's go back to today. We've got a pretty cool course here out here today. Dave, why don't you carry us through this course profile?
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look because, as you mentioned yesterday with the Premier League, this is a challenging course. We're going to have 3 QOMs, Queen of the Mountain competitions along the way. And that's where your first opportunity to start collecting points that we'll look at the end of the race. Each team will have a tally, and then we'll sort out who the top teams were and work through the 20 teams out here. So you can see that after you make that Titans Grove QOM, it's a challenging route. There's no doubt about it. With just a little over 50 kilometers of racing, we're going to find a worthy winner, and a strong team will make a huge difference out here. Zwift Community and Zwift Racing League, Nathan, yeah, you're the one pedaling the bike, but when you can get together with a strong group, it can make a huge difference in your success.
Yeah, 100%. And then, looking at these sections here, the forward Watopia climb is really going to be the second place that people are going to be looking at. And then it's going to be that volcano climb that I think really is going to split things up. And we saw that actually between some of the other racers yesterday and earlier this morning in APAC. So really, really difficult climb there. And then it's the reverse KOM for the Titans Grove. That's also going to be the finish out there today. Now, real quickly as well, we do have the some stats here to take a look at for this racing league. And the pretty crazy and amazing what kind of a league we got going on here. This is the largest Zwift Indoor Racing League system. Zwift is doing this in collaboration with WTRL. It's a global league structure, 10 weeks, 250 events between all of the divisions. It's we've got Premier Division, obviously, and the 6 leagues. with 60 divisions total, almost 1,200 teams, 3 to 6 racers on each team. You do need 4 racers, though, to do the TTT. So it does say 3 to 6, but if you want to finish the TTT, you do need a 4th racer across the line because they take the 4th racer across the line time. So there's a heads up. You can race with 3 in the points race, but you ain't going to get a time without a 4th in the TTT when you're doing that. Over 6,000 riders so far. You want to increase that number from 6,000? WTRL.racing. Head on over there, sign up a team, and we'll see you out there for sure next week. So, Dave, the men are out on course. This is super exciting. They're about to head on to their Titans Grove climb here. They're on the Fuego Flats. We've got now here one qualifier for everybody. We see the chat. Are you covering this? Are you covering this? Are you covering this? There are 6 divisions between the men's East and the men's West. We have maybe 3 Zwifts, just as a heads up here. So we'll be picking the pools this week somewhat randomly. And then starting next week, we're going to be looking more at how the echelon starts going up toward earning those spots. And then in the Premier Division, perhaps. And then also jumping around a little bit to cover some of the C, D, and B divisions as well later on. So we jumped in, though, with Pool 4 for the East for men now. The women are about to take off out on course in a little bit here as well. So we'll be jumping in with them. They had one pool that we can select from. So pretty crazy how many numbers. It's awesome to see how many numbers, but at the same time, we definitely want to show love all around the board here. But let's go ahead and jump on in. Dave, we're on Fuego Flats here. And riders are flying 50 kilometers per hour, 7K in with 8:34 done with, looks like Team Essex here, a new team out on course.
Well, it's beautiful to see racing underway. This is a historic moment for Zwift community for sure. This morning, Nathan, when I was on Zwift, there were 15,000 people around the world enjoying the platform, but nothing like the intensity of what we're seeing here. So this is the EMEA. You might wonder, what does that stand for? That is the Europe, Middle East, and Africa division that we're looking at. Again, we'll have the women and men. I mean, there is so much going on right now in the world of Zwift racing, as well as the community. So we're going to do our very best to be clear on what you're seeing and where we are, because as Nathan mentioned, there are literally hundreds of races coming up in the next few weeks that all matter. And again, that show with OJ Borg on Fridays is going to be really exciting. And we're going to highlight riders from all of the different categories here. So let's see who can make their mark. But again, picking up the action here, Nathan, 50-kilometer day. They're already almost 8K in, and it's a big group together, 125 riders. And I know we have a lot of new viewers. The excitement around the launch of the Zwift Racing League has brought in some new folks, and certainly it's fun to bring you up to speed. You can see there's a tremendous amount of data that you can use. As we mentioned, going to www.WTRL, that stands for World Tactical Racing League, and at WTRL.racing, you can find a lot of information about how the points work. If you really want to dig in, you can learn quite a bit. But this is a points-based format. Our King of the Mountain competition will be coming up, the first one, Nathan, at Titans Grove. So we'll look for things to start hotting up as we get closer to that KOM.
Definitely want to highlight plenty of people in chat over here hyping things up. It's good to see everybody for sure. We've got a lot of people, a lot of fans that are starting to be developed here as well. You know, we a lot of times have seen, I was saying some smack talk in the game here and there and amongst the athletes, but now we're starting to get this fan followings going on. We start seeing different fans cheering on their teams, maybe even saying, oh, a little bit of, elbows being thrown here and there, even in the stadium. So it's good to see everybody hanging out and having a good ride. We are seeing Jerry Delport over at Twitch saying that he's even nervous for this race. Very cool to see that the nerves are being racked up a little bit here. Vegan Rabbit over at Twitch as well saying 1,142 teams. Wow. So plenty of going on here. As we can see, Carissa is in here as well with saying Go TFC, as well as Quentin LaFay with the Go Vision. So keep on letting us know who your favorites are. We'll keep on bringing all the chat on in as you do have your questions or comments as well. We love to answer them. You want some interaction with the commentators at any time throughout any of the divisions, we'll go ahead and bring in as much as we possibly can. So great to see everybody out there in chat as we have a little bit of a cheer on for Newberry Velo as well, which is that one of those new teams formed over the spring/summer. I believe that was going to be Glenn Knight and Rachel Elliott that helped make that happen.
Yeah, that's a great team, Nathan. And they have an in-game kit. That's another thing worth mentioning here. One of the real upsides to finding success out here in the ZRL is going to be getting your club or your team's kit into the game. I know a lot of people are going to be fighting for that, so there's a lot of incentive out here. Nathan, they're hotting it up. If I learned something yesterday, we shouldn't expect a large group coming to the finish together. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a solo rider winning out of this group here. It's a strong man or a strong woman's course. An early move going clear here. This might be some teamwork happening, Nathan. There's no doubt that putting the other teams on their back foot early is one way to keep your climber fresher for the end of the race. That volcano climb is no joke. Yesterday, it was every woman for herself and just an incredible, exciting race for the ladies, and the men didn't disappoint either. That was a great way to start off racing here this week. So, all right, Nathan, picking up El Board here, one of the PETA Z riders. And the gap is growing. This is no joke. You're looking at a 5-6 second. He's eking it out here.
This is a 5-second gap coming through here.
Yeah.
I mean, but okay, going through Titans Grove, when you enter Titans Grove, though, there is a reality that the undulations here, the pack usually just chases right on down. But PETA Z here, this is the team I've seen a lot of chat about them in the live streams here. Got a lot of fans out here, and it was 7 seconds here. Gavin Richard, they're trying to chase things down. The Vikings as well, but I think that the pack is going to say, "Meh, let him dangle out there. We'll pull him back in as things ramp up over the top here." But we'll see if it maybe puts a little bit of sting, a little bit of hurt in some of the riders. Some of the teams that have to chase this down. We'll have to wait and see. But looks like maybe a teammate here, Dave, doing a little work toward the front here. Interesting.
Well, maybe waiting. You're right, Nathan, and I completely agree with what you were saying. As I think that teammate is being smart, waiting to see if anybody's going to bridge and maybe go, well, yeah, that's what they're doing. They're just trying to keep some representation up near the front of the group. I mean, just like in real life, where you position yourself in the pack has a massive consequences. You get too far back in this group and you just can't respond to anything. I love seeing all of these nationalities, Nathan. This right here, the time zone that we're in, the Europe, Middle East, and Africa, might bring us the greatest number of countries, right? When you think about how many nations there are in Europe and Africa and the Middle East, for that matter. I mean, look at all those flags. It's a beautiful thing. It's pretty usual on WTRL Thursdays for us to see 90, 100 nations represented, which is more than half the. Oh, look at this name, Ed Laverick. Nate, we actually invented a verb, getting lavericked, for this rider. One of the strongest, most dangerous in the field. This is, I would have to say, the pride of Wales that we're looking at right now with Laverick, Nathan. Absolutely a rider who will have an impact on the day.
Yeah, and we have some chatter actually in chat specifically about this athlete being in the pack here. And what's cool about today is a lot of times, because of the reality of Zwift racing and the way that it ends up snowballing a lot of times on flatter courses, because of that, you cannot break the pack up. But being a hill climb champion, being this guy that can throw down 6 to 7 watts per kilogram for the amount of time that he can, this is a course that you definitely can see that everybody getting lavericked. That this is going to be
Yeah.
Ed Mode, as his chat says a lot of times. We'll see if Ed Mode can make it happen, because we saw yesterday, this morning and yesterday, we saw a much smaller pack than usual come to the line. In the APAC men's, there were like 150 plus riders or something, and the pack ended up being like 5 riders at the end. It was like nothing. I was expecting it to totally be usual Zwift situation. Obviously, with the amount of teams, the amount of talent that's showing up, I think things are really going to break up here. We'll see what they make happen. It's not going to happen on Titans Grove forward here. This doesn't really have the punches it needs to make it happen, but I think we'll have our first selection here, Dave.
Yeah, Nathan, I completely agree. I think we really are finding a whole new level of racing as we move into the first week of ZRL here. It's going to get harder and harder to win. The intensity at the front end of the group. We've always said that racers make the race, and you throw a really good course, and I think today qualifies as that. When you look at big foothills, this course has everything that you're looking for. If you're a racer that's motivated and coming into this in shape with a strong team, that sets the table for you to have an exceptional dine. So let's see who's going to pull it off today. We're picking up Fulford now. Nathan, it's going to be so incredibly hard to break away from the group at this point. Really, through what I would say is the first, up until we're about to really start to get into it a little bit. And let's see if anything happens on Titans Grove. What do you think, Nathan? Does the KOM, that first KOM, and let me remind folks that we'll score this 5 deep in descending order, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with points. So there are points. This is the first opportunity in history for this EMEA time zone to score. Let's see who's going to go and take the top bonification here. So Nathan, what do you think? Does this KOM split the field?
I think we might have a couple of riders who are already struggling, that just are in over their head, maybe get, or maybe a little inattentiveness, but I think we're only going to find a few, maybe 5, 6 off the back, really. Really, it's that forward KOM on Watopia, forward KOM, the original KOM out on Watopia. That is going to be the one I think that really splits things up because it's only going to be about a minute 30 climb, and it's going to be 8 watts per kilogram average. We saw yesterday a 12 watt per kilogram kick from Spencer Sagerbrook over the top of that, and I think that we have that kind of talent in this group here as well. So I think that's really where we're going to see things break up. Probably a pack of about 20 to 30, maybe 40 end up off the front, and then they look to try and work together, hold it off to that Volcano KOM. It might come back together, but those that come back together at that point, I think are really going to just be looking for a reprieve because obviously when they hit the Volcano, it's just going to happen again. Bramley from Innovation now off the front here. Saunders from Vision trying to chase that down. 193 beats per minute. He's looking to try and take some points here, but I don't think it's going to happen. They're chasing him down, but it's forcing the Vikings, Cryogen, Fulford from Wahoo Lacole, as well as Baker. Vision really toward the front here, it looks like, trying to control this race and make sure that Innovation doesn't get away.
Yeah, and you're really going to get a feel here. And with what Nathan is saying here is we've got a long, long way to go. The Peloton has a huge advantage on some of these flat sections. And as we start into this climb now, you can watch the gradient start to increase and decrease up in the top left or top right-hand corner there. But this is a huge Peloton at this point. I tell you, Nathan, one reference point I would use, there's some really strong riders in this race. And in particular, when you look at, so we have a bunch of different fields out racing.
Here, Dave.
Yeah, this is it. And certainly, let's see, you can see a lot of power-ups being deployed, a ton of arrow and some feathers here, Nathan, and that's going to be Amundrud here. But, yeah, the surge is coming. Is that going to be Saunders? And it looks like Saunders is going to make a run for it first ever. Who's going to get the bonus points? 5 points for Jay Saunders. Vision taking it. There you go, on the board.
Vision, Amundrud, and then it looked like Martin from Cryogen, perhaps. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. Looks like Laverick was involved there as well. So, but it's only the top 5. Now, a counterattack perhaps here coming from Cryogen. Backing off, actually. But look at the split. Now, you're going to be fine, around this section or even here where Richardson is. But look at the back of this here. I mean, things are really splitting already here, Dave. Maybe I was incorrect. I mean, the pace was obviously high enough to completely string this out. And power-ups being thrown down at sections you would not expect it here at all. People are struggling already. We're going to have a group, maybe a 50, getting away here.
You're not going to win the race right now, but you certainly could lose it. And you can see that it is all hands on deck. Look at all the power-ups being deployed. As Nathan said, there's a little bit of a panic going on right now because they realize that this is going to be a very interesting moment. We're only a third of the way, not even a third of the way into this race. Critical moment here. Gaps opening up all over the place. It's going to be, this next minute of racing is going to define what ZRL is all about. Ladies and gentlemen, it is on like Donkey Kong out there on Watopia right now. This is exactly what we were looking for. Nathan, we got ourselves an OSS here. Only the strong are going to survive. We might have a group of less than 50, only 20K in. Unbelievable. This is dynamite racing going on.
Yeah, really impressive, actually, the attacks over the top. I was not expecting things to be that difficult for the riders this early. And this little kick right here, this can be the nail in the coffin because they are not waiting up. You can see at the back here, Bakewell just trying to hang on this 8% gradient. This is that second kick we always talk about, leaving Titans Grove. It can almost do more damage than the original. climb, and we got 43 racers off the front here. We look like the Mighty Mallards trying to get back on terms. Not going to be happening, it looks like here. Germany, there was Schaefer. It's going to be Sunderland also from Swedish Swifters now. New Nebenzi, they're coming out of France, as well as Blanchard from WEZ, World Elite Swifters. But 5 seconds. Fulford on the back here, but they're going to keep this rolling. Looks like we've got a ride. I think it's over.
We got a jailbreak.
Riders. It's over.
We've got a jailbreak, Nathan. No doubt about it. So that's what I was talking about. I had a feeling that first KOM back at Titans Grove was going to have an impact on the finale of this race, and there is no doubt that it will. So one thing's for sure, and that's one of the great things about having Nathan producing, is that we'll be able to look and see how the chase is organizing. So nothing is definitive right now, but I'm going to say the man who's going to win this race and the team that's going to take the lead for the first time ever in this time zone is in this group right now. So earlier, Cryogen did a really good job of getting numbers up near the front, Nathan, and I think that might have paid off for them. One team, Laverick, is here. We're going to just start taking some inventory. Wakefield, another rider on Vision, the Canadian there, who's very strong. Nathan, it's an interesting group, but look at this. We took it from 125 down to 42, just like that, lickety split.
Yeah, now it's going to be about recovering. Now, look, 6 seconds back here, maybe be able to pull something off. No, it's going right back out to 10, so not happening. This is just rolling away way too fast. Fulford on the back here, 144 beats per minute. Wahoo Cole, I know that they are a team that have been really chomping at the bit as far as getting more involved in the esports world and getting at that top echelon here. And this is their opportunity, I believe, in the Zwift Racing League. They're going to go ahead and they're going to show what they're with. There's actually, and they're not the only ones at all. There's plenty of teams out there like this that are wanting to be in that Premier League, wanting to be amongst the, and have the talent for it. Like, to be honest, like, completely have the talent for it, and maybe just weren't a part of that initial grabbing those initial groupings of riders. So Wahoo Lako, I think, Vikings out here as well. There's a lot of new teams, though, that are out here that have been formed. I mean, Cryogen, they're looking to maybe put a couple more teams at that top level. So that's also the cool thing, is that some of these brands might be able to, have their own sub teams that also qualify at that top level. So it's really cool to see how this sport is developing from that ground up, that pyramid structure, when you talk about celebrating the highest level of talent in the sport and finding it through a league like this.
There are a lot of Belgian riders in this group, Nathan. I see Bram Schittekate is there, Jori Verdien, Marcus Kronjager, actually Indiana Stahlbrick, Jasper Paradens. The Belgians are crushing right now out here, but they're representing a bunch of different teams here. There's some really interesting dynamics that are going to be going on in this group. And again, as we just go past 20 kilometers into what's going to be just over 50K of racing, finishing on, Nathan, well, one of the best climbs to race on in this platform. For esports, that volcano climb never disappoints, and that's where this one will be done and dusted, but we still have a ways to go. Riders right now are going to be bracing themselves because, Nathan, this forward climb, I don't think it's going to do quite what we saw there, because really we separated the wheat from the chaff on Titans Grove. Now, I think we're going to start whittling away at this group, but there's definitely going to be another surge. We're going to start sorting things out again shortly here. This is going to be a fantastic race today. Still not to the middle point. You're looking at the front group here, and you start wondering what team tactics are going to come into play. It's going to make a big difference. As we've talked about the 10 weeks of racing that make up this points-based series, we're already seeing the first points going up on the board here, and the teams are really going to start defining the pecking order in this league. I mean, it's happening right in front of our eyes, Nathan.
And the next section we're going to be looking at here, just so everybody knows, if you're just tuning in, jumping in, I'm going to give everybody a quick idea again of where they are heading. Next up on this big foothills, they started over in the desert, nice and calm, nice and flat, but then they hit Titans Grove. It's separated to 43 riders. Now we're going to be hitting that Watopia Hill forward climb, that two-tiered kick. They're taking the right-hand turn on over toward the piers right now. Then it's the volcano that'll be in front of them. So that Watopia Hill climb going to be in front of them. 21.4K in and 26 minutes of racing down so far. But really, the two real decision-making points, I think, are going to be, the next ones. I thought,
Forward.
excuse me on that, really, I didn't think Titans Grove at all would be a decision-making point. So the racers make the race. Regardless of what you think the profile is, they just went so crazy hard that couldn't hang on. But now I think we start to see the pure climbers start to come out. This punchy climb right here, I'm expecting a sub 130, which is absolutely insanity.
I completely agree. Nathan, yesterday it was interesting because they were not allowing Tron bikes in the race, but obviously in the community racing. And that speaks to your commitment to Zwift, I guess you'd say, because if you are a Zwifter yourself, you're well aware of the garage and trying to upgrade your equipment and wheels. And it's one of the things that really helps motivate us. We start the climb here now, Nathan, where you can see as you come across this bridge, this is going to be a really decisive sector. So the Tron bike, though, would not necessarily be, or actually it's a fact, it's not the fastest bike that you have out there. That Canyon Aero road bike is certainly turning a lot of heads out there, no doubt about it. But Nathan, let's turn our attention back to the action because they're having at it here. They're going to start throwing some more body blows here. Let's see who can respond. Look at the number of power-ups being thrown. Feathers all over the shop right now.
Go Live here, Vikings Ragnarok now. Mighty
Boy, they went early.
Follow it up. Went very early. This is a little bit too early, I believe. You can see Laverick Carstensen from Vikings as well. We see Wakefield from Vision sitting in, waiting for the moment here. Maybe going to try and fade climb a little bit here because I don't believe this 7 watts per kilogram is getting done. We're going to see it over to the 10 watts per kilogram for the points. And there's 5 points over the top. Mighty Mallards here with, it looks like V. Or CCNS Mighty Mouse trying to chase that down, but here comes Laverick. He's waiting for the moment. Looks like 9.4 watts per kilogram, and this is his wheelhouse. Starting to open things up. 180 beats per minute. Where's the kick, though, across the line? 9.6. Now you can see 541 watts. Is there going to be another rider that can come across, though? Here comes Powell. World Elite Swifters. It's going to be a kick, but no, it's an aero power-up. I think he's put the nail in the coffin.
Well, and here you go. This is the first major play that we've witnessed in the Zwift Community Racing League here. Ed Laverick, who is a usual suspect, no doubt about it. Without any question, Nathan, he's one of the strongest riders on this platform, and Laverick has put paid. So 5 points going to WLC and Ed Laverick. And let's see now, let's talk about damage, Nathan, because this course really is the triple Lindy of racing. You have 3 major pivotal points, 4 riders together. Nathan, let's watch this closely. This is going to be a really dynamic moment. Do they want to roll with this breakaway? How are you going to play your cards? Laverick is sitting on this group. What's going to happen? This is bike racing at its very, very best right now.
Yeah, I definitely want to see what kind of damage that's been done here. They are working together, it looks like. Actually going off the front a little bit, and I think
this could go either way.
Here, these guys are like, no, throw in the towel. They see the pack behind here. The DS is saying, no, this isn't going anywhere.
Too far out.
Exactly, too far. And the reality of this pack is just too much of a snowball. It's going to avalanche right into you on this downhill. But it looks like the Mighty Mallards are saying, nah, this reminds me of the Mighty Ducks. He's going to do the V and go for it here, it looks like, as the flying V off the front. And that's exactly what's happening here at 178 beats per minute. We'll see if it can make it work.
You know how they say honey badger don't care, right? Well, the mallards don't care either. That's some aggressive racing going on right now. And you know what, Nathan? The thing that you have to remember is that a lot of times there's a strategy behind this. So I have a feeling that the Mighty Mallards aren't just willy-nilly, recklessly sending a rider up the road. There's a method to the madness at this A level of racing. These guys don't miss a step. You don't really see too many tactical blunders out here. So I'm going to guess that the Mighty Mallards have some kind of a plan here. Let's see how it plays out. You can see the group is not going to mess around here. They're going to bring this rider back and reshuffle the deck one more time. These are the gladiators of the road. There is no doubt about it in esports. Only the strong need apply at the front of this group as they continue to apply the pressure. World Elite Zwifters, this team has been absolute. When it comes to the team time trials, this team is the platinum standard without any doubt. And they certainly, as they have riders around the globe that are the cream of the crop, they're going to play a big, big role. I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up as our number 1 team here today. Nathan, let's start taking some inventory. Who's in this very, very, this is a select group. It's not the ultimate selection. That's still to come.
Yeah, and we do see what happened with the damage here. Is that off the doll, off the back? That is not expected at all. interesting to see that Oftedal from Vikings Fenrir has fallen off the back here when riding on that canyon you've been talking about there. And then we do have a WP1 rider as well from Germany, but it does look like Amund, the teammate there from the Vikings here, Amund Drud, able to make the front group here, but definitely split it up a little bit more over the top of that climb. Looking backwards here, there's another chase group with Sorensen, it looks like, and then it's going to be Hughes here from Innovation. Look at this. It actually split up a whole nother group off the back here from that main group, as you can see. So it looks like this was the original chase, though, over the top of Titans Grove. And then they're going to be picking up some that fell off over the top of the Watopia forward. And then there's two up front here, still no man's land. And then this is the main group here. So that's the situation on the course. Next up, we're looking toward the Volcano King of the Mountain now. That's the next place of the points. There's 5 points up for grabs for each one of these sections. And let's go ahead and take a look at how things are playing out so far. Now, I'm going to give a quick explanation as we take a look at this points. For the bonus points, 5 points across each one of the King of the Mountains. Each one of the King of the Mountains or Queen of the Mountains. But these don't go to the individuals for the league. These go for the race today. So,
Sure.
Wahoo Lacole grabbed 10 points for Ed Laverick. It doesn't look like any more of their athletes grabbed any points across those lines. Wahoo Lacole is now leading with 10 points. Ragnarok, it looks like 5 points. I'm seeing if there's anybody with extras in there. Vision actually would be the one to look at for that. Brett Wakefield
Well, so the
with 2
Mighty
in there.
Mallards, too. The Mighty Mallards have got Pronovost and Charles as well, both scoring. But
Well,
let's go
scoring
back
4.
to what you...
Exactly.
Right.
And then Vision,
So-
both the 3 and 2 with 5. So Vision's ahead of Mighty Mallards out there today. So we'll get a board showing that as soon as we possibly can with the teams. We got WTRL working hard in the background. But it is the team that wins on team points. And across the line, 30 points to the winner all the way down to 1, Dave, for the finish.
Yeah, so Nathan, I do want to go back to what you said that's important. So we'll take all of the points that each rider has, add them together with the rest of their teammates, take that team score, and then we'll determine what teams won today. So again, kind of an omnium points-based format there. So we'll add all of the teams' points up and then see how they sort out, and then reward points to that. And we'll do that 10 times throughout this first Zwift Racing League season. And then we'll have a champion. And then we'll get to that point where we're promoting or demoting teams from leagues. So you can see it's a little complicated. It's actually, it all makes sense when you read the rules. It's really, actually, I think the schedule with points is laid out incredibly well for us to enjoy exciting racing throughout all 10 weeks. It's really unlikely that any one team will be able to run away with this one. So we should go right down to the wire. But let's go back and pick up the action here in the front group. Speaking of the Mighty Mallards, they've been well represented today, no question.
Yeah, and it's a great point there about it being very close throughout the entirety of the league. And the reason that is that, as you said, at the end of the race, the points are going to be added up for each of these teams, and then the team that wins gets 20 points, though, after the race. So each and every
second
race,
19 points, third
Exactly.
18, and work it down to 1 point for the final team, right?
Exactly.
But you can
so
see
every single race only has 20 points to the winner, 19 to second, 18 to third, and that keeps the racing very close. You can't have this runaway situation where teams can't just rack up tons of individual points that go toward the team. So it's all about a single day points race that then ends up winning the race, and those points add up. I know lots of points all over the place, but essentially 20 to 1 up for grabs for the best performing team across all of the sections on course.
Yeah, and it's really interesting when you look at it. No matter how well you do on one day, it's always going to be governed by the fact that this point schedule is really good. So that is one of the things we're really looking forward to. And this today is going to be, we're going to learn a lot about how this all works. But one thing's for sure, the racers have brought their A game. People are really motivated for what Zwift is doing here. And I think you couldn't have found a better time. So many folks are looking for the entertainment across the board, whether it's for the racers or our friends out there that enjoy the broadcast. I'm so happy that we're going to have a lot of racing to bring to you throughout, well, going forward. I should say. So, all right, Nathan, Pronovost has been an active racer out here. The Mighty Mallards have done a good job, and you start to recognize the teams that have been well structured and riding a solid race out here. We've talked about Titans Grove. We've talked about the forward climb. The volcano climb, Nathan, is the monster here, 3.7 kilometers with the 3% average, which isn't all that high of an average number, but you're going to see that this one is a grind, that's for sure. And with the points on the line, they're going to be really pushing.
Yeah, the this one, about looking at the kind of level that's here, especially with this specific pool having some of the best climbers that we know of. I have a feeling we're going to see some new records set here, and I think that WLC is going to be setting up Laverick here for this climb. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out, because Vision has been challenging it, but so far Laverick has shown that he is one of the strongest out here, taking down the maximum amount of points that he could over the top of that climb on the forward KOM. Maxime Golev as well from Regulock there with that 5 there. Elbowed with that from P to Z there with 4. So we'll see if a couple of the other riders, though, were waiting for this. The punchier climbs might not have been their thing, but maybe more of a grind might suit some of the other riders out here. But there is the reality. Some of them might just be thinking, we need to break this apart, and it's all about the 30 and get as many of our riders into the lead group. I mean, there is that tactic. Think of that there, Dave. Really, with how many points are up for grabs, if you just get a lot of team members into the lead group and they can just hang on and not do too many attacks and reserve, and then get the best across the line with as many as you can, and even supporting people who might be falling off the back, you can end up with a lot of points at the end of this day just by getting to the line with your team intact.
Nathan, exactly what you're talking about speaks to, in the Grand Tours, the teams that are racing for the team classification, right? It's not about one individual rider standing out. It's the depth of the team. That's going to be the success formula for winning the overall in the ZRL. That depth is going to be massive. Boy, look at Laverick just sitting on the back of this group, patiently waiting, because there's going to be a massive explosion. I have a feeling, Nathan, that this volcano climb is, with the quality of this group, this is too big right now for a lot of riders' comfort here. I think they're going to just start shelling this one. About halfway up the climb, I think you're going to see that name, Ed Laverick, start to come back into play. Ferup, another rider, the Danish rider, Kjetil Ferup, is going to be a part of that conversation as well. A climbing monster out here. So let's see how this is going to play out, because this is the champion standard, this front group that we're looking at here. Everybody keeping it pretty chill right now, about as chill as it's been all day out there right now. So they are definitely keeping their powder dry, getting ready for this climb.
Yeah, and I think the chase group behind, interesting to see here. Look at the work. 11
they might
seconds?
come back. Yeah, well, a few guys are going to come back because they're going so slow in the front group right now. Everybody looking around like bobblehead dolls.
But, I mean, Dave, you get back at 177 beats per minute and they kick, and then they just rev the engine up. They've just been waiting, and next thing you know, and they take off over the top of this climb. It's such a horrible spot to be in.
It's like being the slowest rider on a mountain bike ride. You wouldn't know about that, Nathan, but for those that are, it's like you show up and they've been waiting for you for 5 minutes at the top of the climb. You get there and they immediately take off and shoot off again, right? It's like the same kind of thing. Once you join this group, the fireworks are going to start, no doubt. But hey, that's heart. That's what these riders are all about. Never giving up, never throwing in the towel. And if you can get back up there, you never know how you might be able to help a teammate, and it really is just mindset, isn't it, Nathan? That you either are a quitter or you're not. And if you can get to this level, racing with the A's, being in the front group, you're not a quitter.
Looking at the Vikings now, making their way forward, but taking over at the front again. This has been one of these teams that's over and over again shown us that they are. Do we have a ride off the front? Is that right? Did I miss an attack? No. Excuse me.
No, I don't think so. I think you're okay.
Yeah,
it's just the front group is. Yeah. No, I can see why you're worried, though. Those guys look like they're a front group, but they're trying to chase back into what you'd call the selection that has been made out here. There you go, Nathan. That's the vanguard.
so everybody knows, the Volcano also can, because it wraps on itself a little bit, sometimes it does put riders up ahead here and there. But it is going to be Amundrud here from the Vikings there. Puts rider up ahead in the time on the right-hand side. If you are watching this right-hand side friends list nearby, and it is giving a second or two to another rider, that'll disappear soon enough. Sometimes it wraps in on itself and puts it's. Just as an insider tip, the riders nearby is literally populated with riders nearby. And when you go the opposite direction on some of these sections, it'll start populating the riders nearby on those that are on those other sections, especially on this Volcano, actually. So it was starting to populate a few of the other riders. Pettinger here now, it looks like, though, with this initial climb. This, I use this term a lot, two-tiered. This is the longer two-tiered. You got this long section of kind of undulating 5 to 6%. Goes through the flat section in the middle of the Volcano, and then when they exit, we get into this sharper kick, 8, 7, all the way into double digits actually at the end as they sprint over the top.
Watch two things here. Watch the numbers. You're going to see the watts stay over 5, and then you start seeing some 7s popping over there, Nathan, and watch the shape of the group. It's going to start to go much more towards single file here, thinning out as the pressure is being applied. So you're watching the race being made right now. That's going to be Vision Rider. Vision having a good day. Pettinger up there. The P to Z team also has been very strong, as you can see, Elboard. Now, this is where there's not so much draft anymore. There is draft. I mean, don't discount that, but it really comes down to who wants it more. And Nathan, here's the first real surge that we're looking at now, as Bramley's going to put the accelerator down on the floorboard. So we're going to see quite a bit of this over the next K, as riders just starting to push a little bit harder and looking for the breaking point.
Mallard now still involved here. And then it's Mighty Mallards, with the Flying V. We're going to keep calling that from here on out. And then Laverick now starting to make his way to the front. This is the section you need to start thinking about where you're positioned, because through this flat section of this course, you can reposition easier. You try and move up on the climb, Dave, and you're going to end up wasting energy you need to. If you can sit in, make sure you're on the back. Right through here, little kicks through, and it's a lot easier to move forward as long as the pack is resting. And a lot of times they look for a reprieve here before those final kicks. Great time to move your way to those top 3 wheels so that you don't have to make up that distance once it starts heading uphill.
This is where I love the assets that we have on Zwift with esports, Nathan, is you can see the Volcano climb up there in the left-hand corner. That really is a perfect example of what Nathan is talking about, is it's almost like trying to use a GPS in Dante's Inferno, right? You're up above, but you're basically in the same place a lot of times. This is a really good look at that. As this is not as insane as I thought, but Nathan was absolutely right, is you're going to see, if you're on Zwift Power, you can see that this is a relatively flat-ish section. Yeah, 4% is not flat. I completely agree. But it will back off a little bit before it goes into what's going to be that rare air of a pretty legit climb. And then we do have the 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 points available for the KOM there. That will be our third scored KOM. And it's going to be interesting because there's a lot of points waiting at the finish line. Again, Cryogen, the Mighty Mallards, these are two teams that have been having a good day out here. Let's see if they can finish this one off. Nathan, you look at this group, and there you go. That's going to be the P to Z team pushing forward here. I still waiting for that really strong surge. These guys know that they've got quite a ways to go here.
Yeah, and this Mighty Mallards team, CCNS, I have not really heard of this team before. They're showing up kind of out of nowhere, but I'm going to be paying attention to these Ducks from now on, because this is they are showing up and making themselves known today. And this is how you do it. This is how you get on the radar. You let your legs do the talking. You throw down the watts, and you get involved with the highest level of racing with guys like Ed Laverick, like the Vikings that are out here, like Vision. They're throwing down with some of the strongest teams we know of. They are on the radar. The Ducks have shown up.
Either you or I will have to bring them up to OJ Borg on Friday, okay?
Absolutely. This is, the Mallards, I'm loving this name. I'm loving that they're showing up and throwing down. Looking through here, it looks like it's Aiden Charles, Benjamin Wolf, Brian Wolf. So I think there's some brothers
family
on this team.
Yep.
Family on this team, yeah. Hunter Pronovos and then Stefan Badger there with a little Badger emoji, as well as Vivian out of Canada. So, and that's going to be V. That's the Flying V. I'm assuming there. So good to see them forming this team. Some top-ranked Zwifters as well. 193 for points out there from Aiden Charles in the Zwift Power Rankings. That's going to put him, I believe, in the top 400 at least world. So definitely some talent here, putting themselves into this top esports broadcasting and Zwift Racing League now.
Yeah, so they really haven't dropped anyone out of the group, showing you the resiliency. I guess if you were able to survive the first couple barrages that you faced in this group, that you've obviously got the strength, it looks like. And now here we go, Nathan. It's going to ramp up now. All hands on deck. Laverick moving forward. This is going to be interesting here. This is another big moment. Ed Laverick has gone to the whip and is flogging himself like a rented mule. Here goes Laverick. I'll throw it to you, Nathan, on this 10% grade.
Yeah, 12 watts per kilogram. Laverick trying to split this apart. He does not want anybody to go with him. The question is, he'll take the points, but will he continue? Because if he wants this to split, he needs to get a couple of riders to come across, but not pull too many. Now, Aiden Charles, this is the rider here. He's actually the head coach over at Charles Coaching Nutrition Services. Actually, that's what that CCNS is. This is a top rider. He's a Cat 1 road cyclist out of the USA. Used to race professionally for Narek cycling team. So these guys are coming out of the woodwork here. Good to see that they're working so incredibly hard. They've got two or three riders here going along with Laverick. Vikings getting involved as well here. The Vision team as well. Bergen, Fulford's there from WLC. Laverick's got a team.
Not everyone makes it.
Not
everybody's going to catch this train.
It's too many, though,
it is way
Dave,
too many.
Really, to try and get like a smaller group. But it does look like 4 or 5 were whittled off, so that did do enough damage that some more points were gained.
I agree with you, Nathan. It looks like 5 riders got caught out. That's not huge numbers considering how hard Laverick went, and he knows when to play his cards as well as Ed Laverick has backed off. And I think we're going to be looking at a group that's just going to be under 40 riders as they make their way back down. This is the longest descent that they're going to see on the race today. Again, to bring you up to speed, we are now into the final 14, make it even really the final 13 kilometers of racing here for our men's A race. They started with 50 kilometers on the docket. So you can see we're just about into the finale. It's one last time up Titans Grove Reverse. We will sort out your top 10, our first ever leading team, as well as our individual rider that will win for that team here today. So history being made as we look at the Cryogen team represented. Nathan, that's more like 20-25 riders. Let's take a look at what the gap looks like to the next chasing group right now.
Yeah, it's going to be about 6 seconds, and it is a large enough group.
That's not good. Really They're not coming back. They're not going to do it.
So on this descent, this specific descent here, there's the way that you do it is you have to punch at orange numbers every time it gets below this 5%, 3% or so. You've got to absolutely give everything you can through those seconds. Look at
everybody needs to.
Look at him. Pull, and then come through. But it's got to be like 7-8 watts per kilogram, or else it's just not happening.
They should be panicking right now. It's all about going massive in this effort. It's about you're drowning. You've got 1 minute of oxygen left to rejoin that group. If you don't join in a minute, you're not going to rejoin.
Yeah, and I think with 13 seconds out at this point, they can see
him.
It's
not coming back.
Look, they can see him there. I don't think so either. Now here's the reality, though, is that this downhill favors the larger pack ahead. But between here and the finish, there is a pretty good amount of what might be some looking at each other. They go past the piers of Watopia.
Again,
it's a flatter section. We'll see if there's attacks or not. They're gonna have to be aggressive and not think there's this climb coming. Are we gonna hold up? It depends on what the pack is feeling.
My feeling would be, I agree with you. However, there is a reason why they got dropped. They were the 6 weaker riders in that 40 rider group about 5 minutes ago. So now they're getting put behind the 8 ball. They're chasing really hard. Look at the numbers. I mean, they're doing 35% more work every second that goes by. They're working harder in that chase group to rejoin. By the time they get up there, they should be gassed. And that's right when the guys who've been sitting in this front group are ready to take out the 20-pound sledgehammer and start wailing away. So it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. sort of thing here. I mean, of course, you're going to try to chase back on, but obviously this isn't a great indicator.
SZ in there, lots of chatter coming from them saying, push it, trying to get everybody to work, but I'm not sure anybody has anything left at this point. So now I am seeing some questions coming through. I really appreciate the questions here. Zwift Power is looking to update the preems at this point. You can go check the preems over at Zwift Power, but I'm being told that they might be they might be needing some time to update. Zwift Racing League has out of this world numbers just in this race here. We have between the European East, we have 1,700 almost riders. So it is looking to update. As soon as it does, head on over there. You'll see the preems. I'll also get them up here on screen as soon as we do have an update with them, as we get WTRL and the tech guys all over that. Let you know in just a second. But we definitely saw Laverick over the top. I'll play a replay. I'll see if I can get a replay here for you guys to take a look at that as well.
What's interesting to me is, so we're scoring this. So if you won all 3 KOMs, you should have 15 points. It's 5 points for each one if you're first over the line. So the odd thing is this is where I'm going to say, I think we're going to just check the data, because Laverick had 10 points after the second, but he didn't win the first KOM.
Correct.
So, so that tells me that he
sure.
shouldn't have 10, and that's why I'm saying let's just hold a little bit. And as you said, it is just overwhelming, the data that they're getting there. But I can kind of tell you, my instincts tell me that Laverick shouldn't have had 10 at that point.
Agreed, 100%. Yeah, and we have a replay to see how that ended up playing out here in just a moment.
He did win 2, though. Let's remember, though, he's definitely your KOM leader, because he wins the second and the third. He won at Forward Climb and he won at Volcano Climb. It was just Titans Grove.
So it was going to be Aiden Charles from the CCNS Might Have Matters. They're leading things out. Laverick, as you said, coming through. They had that huge 12 watts per kilogram kick there. Did see a question in chat. Did Fulford come through? Because that is a great question. If Fulford came through with a solid placing, that's going to really put Wahoo Lacole off the front when it comes to the team points here.
And again, this is scoring 5. So there's the 5 points for Laverick. 4, 3, 2, and 1. So only points are going to the first 5 riders.
Yeah, Fulford was too far back there. A little bit too far back, it looks like.
Close, though.
Yeah, very close,
so
very close. But it was Vikings, PETA, and maybe Vision involved there.
It's the battles in the war, and they all matter because these points tally up. So we'll be adding all of these points that each rider gets, adding them with their teammates. And then, as we said, that's how we're going to score today's race for the teams. Yeah, there's going to be a race winner, and there's a lot of glory in that. There's no doubt that that's part of what motivates every bike racer, is going for that win, Nathan. But then there's a lot more depth when you talk about this team points competition. And it's going to be really interesting to see who cracked the code out here today. We're getting down to it now, as we're a little over 8 kilometers from the finish. There's a significant amount of climbing. Well, you know, we've seen a lot of climbing out here today. We're going to see a bit more, but it certainly will sort this group out. Our winner today probably sprinting out of a group less than 5.
As we did see just a moment ago over that 2-tier back into the volcano, some of these riders are hurting a lot more than than avatars are showing at this point. That little 2-tier, it's only a 30-second little dig, but there were 3 or 4 riders that were thrown off the back here. So I have a feeling that this pack might be smelling a little bit of blood and water here, and think, okay, perhaps we could whittle this down a little bit more. If some of these teams get organized, they could perhaps start throwing riders out the front, especially if you have, 3, 4, 5 riders in this. Well, I don't think anybody's got 5, but I think there's 3, even 4 for some of them. There's some ammo there that you can start throwing across the battlefield.
Yeah, Nathan, this is where now you hope that you've been able to recharge your battery just a little bit, because you really do realize the intensity is going to ramp up. It's going to logarithmically increase any moment here now. And the teams that have been trying to keep the pace high, setting up the best climber on their team, this is where you look for the payoff. For on a day like today, this is a big one. There's been a lot of hype. A lot of riders have been really motivated for the ZRL. We'll be back next week with the team time trial, but this week's scratch race turned out to be just really the perfect way to kick off this series. And again, with the number of teams, almost 1,000 men's team, a couple hundred women's team, and you can still sign up if you feel motivated to race. Get your friends together. Get a team going. Jump in. We would love to have you.
Now, for those that might be wondering, the women's race is coming up next. I do have them in the pens, ready to go with the A category for the women. So, and that looks like it's a very stacked field for the European Pool 1 that we'll be covering out there today. We'll also give some highlights to Pool 2 as we can keep Zwift Power up. And you can always follow along with all of the pools. Now, for the first 2 weeks, they are pooled together. And then after that, the divisions are going to echelon out depending on who is performing the best. And all the best teams are going to be put together to race against each other in their own pools within the divisions of each of these of the whole league. So essentially,
we're kind of seeding
right now, we're
the
sorting
teams.
things out. Exactly, we're seeding them out at this point.
Yeah, and the first scratch race, which is now, and then the team time trial, and then we'll have that first seeding done, and I think everybody will be looking forward to that.
Did Jarheed just get back? Did that chase actually get back on terms with this? That is insane. Jarheed, I believe, was off the back of here and got back involved. The little bit of communication we saw coming from those riders seemed to work out here. What a ride here from Team SZ. As Kak and Jarheed they were encouraging, the loud riders that are like, do some work, let's go, come on, and they're kind of like whipping the horse a little bit here.
Pull through. They hear, yeah.
It worked for them. Sometimes you get a little annoyed by it, but it worked out, and now that group's back together. So you thank the guy who was kicking you a little bit.
It's funny, yeah, motivation comes from some bizarre places sometimes, but some riders, if you irritate them, they go faster, right? So you never really know. Cycling is such a bizarre sport. It's so fun because there's the psychological element to it and certainly the physiological element, and it's really going to come down to that. How much do you want this? How willing are you to go deep into the pain cave? Because this is not for everybody, that's for sure. And Nathan, we're setting up for quite a finale here. There are just over 5K from the finish. It's going to be Battle Royale.
Looking through here, a familiar name, Marlene Jarheed. It looks like there's some family in the chat here giving a little bit of encouragement as well. I have a feeling that there's that's like a side-by-side right now. There's a Soigneur that's got the gels, it's got the water, it's got the towel, it's got the fan, a pat on the back here. I mean, that was quite the effort to come back. Good to see Marlene hanging out in chat as well. Now we're seeing a little bit more coming through. David Raham. I mean, Ed has got some fans in here. He's got a huge YouTube following. Go check out Ed Laverick. He does a great job with his own rider point of view, racer view. He does a lot. He does a lot of training, a lot of races out on Zwift as well as in real life. Great videos that are put out there. So Ed Mode coming. We've got tons of Ed Mode in chat. It looks like here. We'll see how it plays out here. Because the reality of this climb is that is nothing like the forward. The reverse is a sharp kick straight up with a little bit of a. It flattens out just a tad in the last 100 meters, but essentially it is a much faster climb.
And it's not long at all. It's a wall, really.
About 5K to the finish I'm seeing here, and it is a wall. It is essentially a wall. And you even have these little bumps coming into it, so you can't really chill going into it because you have to do what we do that descent. We have to do the exact same thing except for in reverse. And there's a lot of little bumps in there to try and break things apart.
Yeah, no, they've got a lot to work with. And, when you talk about Ed Mode, I get it because this is really his wheelhouse now. So if I'm in this field, Nathan, that is absolutely my focus point is if you're going to take some inventory, make sure you're with Laverick and you can't be that bad off, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, hanging onto that wheel. Now, I think there's also, though, the punchiness of this. We'll have to see what Ed can pull off. I think he's got a ton of endurance. It's a little bit longer race than we usually see. We're over an hour here at this point, so maybe some of the more punchier riders might have wasted a lot of their effort. He did go over the top with a huge effort over the top of the volcano, but I think that mainly put hurt in other riders rather than, hurting Laverick so much that he's not going to have this kick. So we'll see how it ends up playing out. He's got a lot of work cut out for him because Vision's in here. We've got the Mighty Mallards, but he's shown what he had over the top of the volcano. Can he hold off? Really, it's about that flattening out. If somebody holds his wheel when it flattens out, they might just have a bigger kick in watts.
Well, I mean, I would say, Nathan, that Ed Laverick is like a police dog, right? He doesn't have a dimmer switch. He's a toggle. He's either on or he's off. And that works out so well for him because when Ed Laverick isn't absolutely blowing the race to bits, he's sitting at the back of the group, chilling and recharging his battery. That's a savvy bike racer. I think a lot of the guys out here can learn from the way that Ed races. And one thing that you can't learn, though, is heart. And that's a big part of what makes him successful.
Yeah, we do see the questions coming on in here, and it is going to be about 3.5K to the finish line at this point. We go through these Steaming Springs here, then we head on into the big redwoods and Titans Grove, go on past Jarvis. He's going to fall off the tree as they come flying by with crazy watts, and then we're going to head into the climb, and you'll see the little banner on the right-hand side, a little green banner as we go through past the mountain bike course will be on the right-hand side as they're into that final K, actually. So we're setting up here. We have what looks to be about, I want to say, a little over 20 riders. So maybe even the 30. So yeah, it's a little over 30, excuse me. So still plenty of riders that make it to the line. It's actually more riders than I would have thought because the initial climb that they hit forward KOM here, they've only whittled it down by about maybe 10 to 13 riders.
Nathan, with all of that climbing, the average speed for the first hour was over 46K per hour. Wrap your mind around that. These guys are absolutely hauling out here today. This has been a super aggressive race. Part of the reason they're going so fast is you've had so many teams and riders participating up here, keeping the pace very high. And here we go. Go ahead and activate its bike race mode now. This one is going to go full throttle, Nathan. You can really feel the shift in focus here at the front of the group. Go ahead and put the accelerator down on the floorboard. We're going to be leaving it there for quite a while now. The race is on.
Yeah, Pet here, WZ3 now, Bramley here, Huntsman, Fulford now at the front. It looks like WZ getting a little bit of a gap. That's not going to help him, though. It's actually just going to burn a match at this point. So the smart riders there are going to be trying to just control the front, but not get too far off the front now. Elbord there. Hita coming on through, and then Laverick sitting pretty right in the middle of it all here. Looks like Fulford still. Gavin Richardson. Good to see Richardson making this group. That is a rider I've not seen in the top end of esports for, I would say, almost 3 years at this point. So Gavin, solid ride coming from him. But the Mallards, that is the wild card that's kind of been thrown in the middle of all this. That CCNS Racing, they are on the map now, but can they make it happen? Can they hit the destination in first place? That's going to be the question for me here. You know, that would be such an upset with this new team and throwing down first race, Zwift Racing League. If the Mallards take this down, that'd be a huge result for them.
I agree. What an upset. And that's how you make your mark out here. You want to hear yourself on OJ Borg's show. Well, now's your moment, gentlemen, because here we go. We are locked and loaded. This is not a drill. I love seeing Indiana Slavnik up here, the Belgian rider, Nathan, who's having an outstanding ride today. But this is where you can make your name, separate yourself from the pack. And the guys that are smart are really right now showing some patience here, because even though it's only a little over 2K to the finish line, you really need to time this one right, because they are all about letting you overexpose yourself, go out too hard too early, and then using your effort to their betterment.
And it's interesting to see how they play this section of the course, because the reality of that snowball on the downhill,
they are really
a lot
chill.
of riders don't want to risk it. They don't want to risk too much off the front. They know it's really all about the punchy climb at the end here, and they know that any risk at this point is just not really going to reward. They probably watched
There's no reward
yesterday. They saw that it all came back together. Anytime somebody went, I mean, Ollie Jones, 7 watts per kilogram for like, you know, it was like 2 or 3 minutes. He was at 6 to 7, and it didn't pay off.
But he got neutralized,
from it.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing. This is the tactics here. You have to understand the game, and there are these elements that come into play. Nathan is 100% correct. I think that a lot of these guys have watched that move be played and watched it fail just about every time. So there's no reason to throw yourself on the sword right now. It's all going to come down to that last climb, and it's a big group coming into this one. I got to say, Nathan, this is larger than I expected. So many riders punching above their weight out here on a very challenging day of racing. But this is it, folks. This is the payoff. We're going into the grand finale right here, right now.
Pronovost, he goes as they go past the mountain bikes there, getting a little bit of motivation from the tread. I'm loving it here now, Mighty Mallards. They're trying to put their name out here, but I think the reality is this is bait. They have other riders. They want somebody to chase this down and pull the rest of the riders up here. That's exactly what happened. Watch him fade. Fulford now goes. He's trying to lead things out. I think that's going to be for Laverick here. Maybe Fulford can take it down, though. I'm not sure, though. 8 watts per kilogram. We're seeing about 700 meters to the line.
Well, and this is it now. If you can use the other riders to help leapfrog you up there, that's how you're going to win the race. You don't want to do all of the work yourself as this is going to reset. Here we go, Nathan. They're bearing down. It's not going to be long until they can see the finish arch.
Here comes Laverick. Laverick, 10 watts per kilogram. Does he got a power up? That's going to be the question. Yes, he's got a feather. He's held onto the feather to this moment, but will there be anyone else coming through? The Mallards are on his wheel. Will the Ducks be able to pull it off? Laverick's at 10 watts per kilogram. It's just around the corner. It's only 200 meters to the line or so. And now the Mighty Mallards, 10 from them, trying to grab back on the Laverick's wheel, but he's got 10 watts per kilogram all day long. Aiden Charles trying to come across. Hunter, Cryogen, 10 watts per kilogram will be an upset from Cryogen. Laverick, he's got the gap, but will he hang on?
Hunter,
another 100 meters. He's coming. Hunter's coming. Hunter's coming. He might get him. He might get him. It's right to the line. No, Laverick made it happen. Ed mode. Oh, what a kick to the line. Ed made it happen. That was amazing. Woo.
Oh, man. Hunter almost got there. That one was only that was a meter at the finish line. This one is done and dusted. Feels good. Events are judged by the quality of their champions, and Ed Laverick is world class. I feel like today was a world class day of racing. Great job, Nathan.
That was absolutely amazing. Let's take a quick
Wow.
look at the replay here. I mean, I wasn't sure that Laverick was going to be able to pull that off here.
I thought he'd get caught. I thought he went a little early, Nathan.
I agreed, but no. He showed us why he has that consistent effort all the way to the line. We're bringing in the replay here, everybody, real quickly.
Ed mode people are like, hey, Ed mode, man. Ed mode always delivers. Well, they got one today. Got to give credit to the Mighty Mallards here. They started it off right here. This was where the fuse was lit.
Yeah, and you can see Pronovost tried, as we said, he tried to make something happen to bait out, I believe, some attacks. It kind of worked a little bit. Fulford chased it down, though, but because I believe WLC had the numbers, he was able to kind of pull the group up. Laverick was still sitting in. You can see there, back in about even 10th wheel at this point, not putting his nose in the wind. Now Fulford is the next bait, and Mallards go, okay, fine, over the top. I think Aiden and Hunter even, look where Aiden and Hunter are. They're at the front. This actually wasted a little bit of energy. Well, Laverick is sitting in 4th wheel. Look where he's at right there. Now he hits it, and boom, through with that feather. Now it's all in, and he tries to get the gap. He goes to 10 plus watts per kilogram for a moment, and that is really what got the gap. And he just was able to hold on after this section.
Well, and I can see where Ed's head is at, right? Because once he gets that gap, and as you said, he can make 10 watts all day long. And I mean, I guess this is really a good look at experience out here. Ed will have known this climb, and he certainly showed us that he just gauged it exactly right. A surgical win here on the first ever day. So we will get to work, start tallying points. So Laverick will be the top point getter by a long shot today, winning 2 of the KOMs along the way. He was first over forward climb, first over volcano climb, and first over the finish line. That's the mighty, mighty Ed Laverick in full effect.
Yeah, amazing result there coming in from Ed. Real quickly here, let's go ahead. We'll jump on into the women's race in just a second here. Just want to update everybody, though, on what's happening. If you're just tuning in, we got a little excited there. You can see. I mean, my hands were all over the place there. This broadcast studio was like trying to bring an airplane into landing. It felt like there for a minute, but lots of fun here, everybody. So what's happening? We are in the European zone right now. We've got broadcasting all day long. This morning we did the APAC racing, obviously. Now it's European East and West for the men, and we have the women out on course as well for the European zone. Later tonight, we're also going to be on for the Americas East and the Americas West. It'll be me and Dave on for the Americas East as well later, and then for West, we're going to have Dave and Kate Bates on for that. So lots more racing to come all day long. I'm going to go ahead and jump right on into the women's race here as they just started out onto their Fuego flats. We'll be bringing in the results in just a moment as well. We are having, I just wanted to give people an update. We're having a little bit of struggle from what I'm being told. There's so many racers that the servers are like, whoa, we weren't expecting this much all of a sudden, which is actually really awesome. I mean, I'm making lemonade out of lemons a little bit here, but we have so many racers that it's like we've never seen this before on Zwift Power. So pretty amazing to see. It kind of gives a testament to what WTRL has been able to do with Zwift here.
Agreed. A good problem to have, right? And one thing I assure you is our friends at Zwift and WTRL are hard at work, and they'll get it all sorted out. So just appreciate your patience on that. But at the end of the day, we used to joke about, do you want the results now or do you want them correct? And we're going to go with correct.
100%, exactly. So, all right, let's go ahead and jump on in with the women's race. And if you weren't with us earlier, we are going to go over the course here real quickly just to give you an idea of what they are going to be challenging. They are out on the start section through the desert at this point. It is going to be 50.04 kilometers, 31.1 miles of the big foothills of Watopia. Their first thing they'll be taking on is going to be the forward Queen of the Mountain for the women's side of things on Titans Grove. Then they're going to be heading on over toward the original Queen of the Mountain climb, which is the Watopia Hill Forward, which is going to be about a 2-minute climb for them or so. With that 2-tier, probably going to see the initial major splits there. Then they're going to head over to the volcano. Each one of those King of the Mountain / Queen of the Mountain points, that's where the bonus points are awarded. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to individuals that go toward the team points overall to win on the day for the team. It's all about team racing here out in the WTRL Racing League, Zwift Racing League, because it's all about showing up for that team, getting as much points as you possibly can for the team, battling throughout the series. And what's on the line? Well, going up or down between the league and the divisions, actually. You win at the top end of your division. You also then go up in division. It's all kind of like in real life racing. I start out as a Cat 5. I move up to a 4, a 3, a 2, a 1, except for it's based on the team, Dave.
And except in real life, we don't demote racers either, which is nice. So that wouldn't be a good business policy for the sporting, like the USA Cyclings, that's for sure. So, but what we do find is, I think it's the perfect mix, Nathan, between the individual racing element, like, right, Ed Laverick gets the feeling of winning a bike race, and we have a podium and the guys that made the front group out there, and that's all validates your racing experience. Then we add the team concept in. So we take your points, you add it in with the rest of your brethren or sisters on your team, and then we'll look at all those points and then put down how the teams sort out. 20 points for the first place team, 19 second, 18 third, all the way down to 1 point for the 20th place team. It'll work exactly the same way in all of our community leagues. And we have the women coming up next. Again, we are in the Europe, Middle East, and Africa time zone. We just watched Ed Laverick win for the men, and the women are already 10K in. And Nathan, expect a pretty similar scenario here. These climbs should be I don't know if we can expect it to be quite as dramatic the first time over Titans Grove, because it went ballistic in the men's race, and every race is like an opera, right? There's going to be crescendos along the way, but you just never know when they're going to come.
Yeah, and this is an interesting situation because we have a lot of new teams. With so many women out there racing now out on Zwift, they've parsed out the teams that what we saw in the TTT with the WTRL. Sox Watts has multiple teams out here. We have Sox Watts Pizza Party is one of the names I'm seeing out here. We've got the new Aeonian team in here as well. We've got SZ. We've got Firestorm hammering away in here. Revo is out here. So, I mean, there is some serious representation out here. I also saw a Sox for Watts men's team, interesting enough. So Sox for Watts really growing out there, Dave, but lots and lots of different very familiar names, but kind of splintering a little bit into their own teams to try and work their way through the ranks. So everybody has somebody represented as far as the brands out here.
And we'd mentioned that we're going to alternate week by week. This is our scratch race form. Scratch racing, a term that's more common in the world of track racing. Basically, it's just a straight ahead bike race. That means you have a start line and a finish line. You might have a Queen of the Mountain points along the way, but it's not too much more complicated than that. Whereas the team time trial that comes up next week is extremely unique. It's a former world championship and Olympic event. The last time it was used in the Olympics was actually 1992. And by Atlanta in 96, they went to that individual time trial instead of the team time trial. But WTRL has done an incredible job of reigniting that. And Nathan, I have a feeling we're going to be looking at a little bit of a split here, as they do a bit of separation early. And this is the name of the game in esports Zwift racing, is that the starts have traditionally, and I can't imagine it will change, they go out much harder than what you would see at an in real life event, and they never really back off. You don't see the same dramatic lulls that you might see out in a 50-kilometer road race that could be happening anywhere around the world. So there's a little bit more intensity, and that's partly why you see the distances of these races aren't, you don't see 3.5, 4 hour races on Zwift. I mean, they do exist, but it's not the norm. Typically, the races are right around an hour to an hour and 20 minutes. That seems to be the sweet spot. As again, we're looking at the front group, again, our Europe, Middle East, and Africa time zone, and there's a significant number of riders coming up. Well, in particular, South Africa, really well represented. I see Claire Good's name popping up. Nathan was talking about that Socks for Watts team, and I guess that's going to circle back, Nathan, to what I was talking about there. They will have a huge advantage when it comes to the team time trial, as they have been absolutely dominant in that discipline over really the better part of the COVID era of racing that we've seen. So always remembering that team has a little special a special sauce when it comes to the team time trial. Barbara Frisch, the Aeonian rider. This team also has Romanian Daniela Estrate and Jamie Lee Wright, who is racing.
Is that right? Is Daniela Estrate in here?
I believe so, but you know what, Nathan? I might have bad data. Let me make sure. But I thought that she was. Let's see. You'll know pretty quickly here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because that would definitely be a favorite in the
I would agree.
in this A pool, I would think, amongst these riders. That is a rider who challenges at the premier level. You're going to have some of these riders that mix it up a lot of times at that Premier League level amongst those that level of riders. So it'll be interesting to see if Estrate is in here. I do believe I saw Rachel Elliott perhaps racing out here as well. So, there it is. Sox Watts, WTF is in there. We've got Catherine Curry from C2I Race Like a Girl. So at the front end, we're going to start seeing Daniela is definitely here. I've got her on screen right now. So we're about to see some of the top racers out on Zwift as far as women's racing go, hammer it out for this big foothills course. So amazing to see. And, this is about grabbing those spots for these newly formed teams. I talked about this a little bit prior to, while the qualifiers were going on, that some of the riders, they might not have wanted to even accept an invitation to the qualifiers. We'll let the first league go. We'll let the first Premier League go, because you know what? I'm going to make a team. I'm going to put a team together, and I'm going to earn a spot up there, and it's going to be the team I want to be a part of. It's going to be the team that I want to make out there. And I think that idea that this gives you the opportunity to make your own team, to make your own movement in racing, and I believe that's what we're seeing with a team like Aeonian. That's what we're seeing with C2I Race Like a Girl. These teams coming out and being like, we'll earn our spot. We got this. First season, we'll show what we got.
Well, I couldn't agree more. As we take a look at Catherine Curie, who has ignited the race here. Curie was the 2008 U.S. National Road Champion and was part of the Webcore team that was one of, very similar to what Tibco is now, or 2020 is now, a women's only. There was no men's element of that squad that were incredibly strong. And Nathan, we might be looking at a dozen riders. Let's see what happens here now. Again, this is a pinch point in the race that they're climbing on a 4% grade right now, just about a third of the way in, but it is definitely hotting up out here. Nathan, we are watching a major play being made quietly. A dangerous split happening, 2 different splits back through the Peloton right now. And this could very quickly, Rachel Elliott, big name, legend Rachel Elliott up there. We mentioned Danielle Estrate, Jamie Lee Wright having a great day. Catherine Curie up there. Here we go, Nathan. This is serious.
Lizzie Duncombe is here as well. I mean,
yeah.
This is okay. I was wondering what the name was for, and she helped us out here. It was at the WTF, and it's what. Okay, thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
You get the drift.
So, we get the drift. We get the drift, and it's
we
all
love
about
Lizzie.
How much it hurts. How much it hurts out there when you're putting out the watts. It kind of is fitting. And as they come over the top, they're breaking this apart. This race is already starting to see something similar to what we saw. I keep saying that this isn't going to break things up on this initial climb, but I couldn't be more wrong. This is all out here over the top.
Well, it's frenetic, absolutely frenetic racing that we're looking at here. You can see riders deploying their power-ups right now, as this is going to be our first QOM that we're looking at. Daniela Estrate is the rider. She's not going to get there first here. Here's a nice push coming from Cryogen. Holy cow. Wow, Nathan. So they are really having at it. This is some mind-blowingly aggressive racing going on. MacGyver is the rider that we're watching right now of the Cryogen Stelvio squad. But look at what is going on out here. It is absolutely bananas. These ladies have taken off the gloves. It's a bare-knuckle brawl going on. And, Nathan, I think we're going to have a selection. The men certainly made a point that the racers make the race. They use the course to their advantage. But I think we've got a group of about 10 riders that have gone clear. Again, we got a jailbreak going on out here. This racing is so dynamic.
7 seconds seems to be the gap here at this point. Here's the Z-Sun rider trying to make it happen with an arrow tuck. It is a larger group. I think they're going to bring it back, but there's enough firepower up front. They could keep going, but they have to fully commit and work together at this point to make that happen. Shaw, as you can see here, Claire Good's in here as well. I'm not sure Claire's going to chase this down, but we do see, well, maybe I'm wrong. No, she's like, I want to stay involved. I was absolutely wrong there. Using an arrow power up and saying, I am staying here. And you know why? It's team-based. That's why, Dave. Get as many across the line with as many points as you can at the end.
Well, you make an excellent point there, Nathan, and I think that there's going to be some riders in this front group that aren't quite ready to go all in at this point as well, with quite a bit of racing ahead of us. Claire Good, a lawyer out of Wales, and she's another one of the Socks for Watts riders that brings an incredible amount of motivation, and she helped chase this one and weld it back together. And, Nathan, I think you really can't quite say the catch has been made until the catch is made on Zwift, right? How many times have we seen them get within a couple seconds and then the gap starts going out again, and sometimes not everybody makes it back on board, right? Because you can see that as they apply the pressure to make that catch, there's some riders who are taking on water right now, like the Titanic.
Yeah, look at this Clark here from Cryogen suffering a little bit. That 8% kick, we say it over and over again. Leaving Titans Grove can be more difficult than going into it, and this is
bizarre.
Exactly
true. Yep. Yeah, that's one of the things that is not intuitive, Nathan, what you're talking about there. As you would think, once you get over the top of the climb, you can just freewheel back into the group, right? No, not at all. As a matter of fact, the smart riders know that that's when you put your foot on the throat of the bike race.
Yeah, and you can see this is the damage that is being done. H. Jackson from Socks for Watts Pizza Party trying to get back on terms here, but it's not going to be happening as too much pizza at the party, it looks like, weighing things down. And we're seeing about 2 second gap here at this point. It's really difficult for the riders here, interesting enough. Now, if MacGyver gives the wheel at the back here and doesn't kick to the front, it's going to give Gamst from BRT just enough to get back on terms. It's almost there. It says probably about 20 meters here, and I think they're going to come back. Gamst's going to pull this back together. The Danish rider making it happen for the rest of the pack, but they definitely had to work for this one.
Perfect example, Nathan, of if you can be patient, try to get other riders to do the work, right? And that's such a challenge here because you want to close down that gap. You want to help, but as I've said before, this sport is all about helping everybody else finish what they've got in their picnic basket before you open up yours, right? I mean, that's the name of the game. Do as little work as possible without irritating the other riders so much that they want to drop you or kill you.
exactly here. And
Which they probably do. But
just a little bit of housekeeping here real quick. I know that chat's probably wondering, what about the men's West? They're in the pens. 4 minutes to go to the start. We'll jump in with them as they leave Fuego Flats. It's probably going to be pretty chill. If there are any splits early on, we'll keep an eye on it. And we'll head on over there just to see if anything happens as they head on onto the flats. We're going to stick in with the women here as they head on over toward the Watopia climb. We may be able to catch the start if things are calm, depending on whether or not we're on the climb with the women here. But definitely a split that's happened. As you can see, Aeonian, though, still involved. They've got plenty of riders here. Daniela Strate, that top rider here. Claire Goods in there. Sox Watts are still represented. Z-Sun, very well represented, actually, with three jerseys. I Race Like a Girl, it looks like, only with one, I believe, maybe two riders in there from I Race Like a Girl.
Catherine Curie. Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
And
go ahead, Dave.
I think you're right, actually. Catherine Curie is the only, and she was the one that really started this whole thing. Let's keep scanning. There could be one more, but yeah, taking some inventory in this front group right now, Nathan. It's a select group, no question. And no one else is going to chase back into this group here. So your winner is on your screen right now. That much is for sure, but we got a long way to go before we get to decide that. But, I have to say, Catherine Curie, Nathan, the rider out of California here in the United States, is certainly, if she's in the front group that that makes it into the group that starts racing for the win at 2K to go, she's going to be really hard to beat today. She was coming back from a broken arm that she had. I'm going to say that was in May of this year. So even though you don't use your arm to pedal your bike, anybody I think can relate to the whole athlete concept, and certainly having a broken wing makes it hard to fly. So as we take a look at Gamst right now.
Beauty of Zwift, though, Dave. Hey.
Well, that's what. Yeah, think back to that original story of Paris-Roubaix, right? And yeah, I mean, if you look at it, a lot of riders have used Zwift to recover from injuries. That is for sure.
No, not me. I've got a little bump on my collarbone right here to prove it. Definitely my best year ever of racing, coming off of Zwift and a broken collarbone by far. And definitely the motivation that came through, as well as the community. So that's what we're seeing out here. Amazing community racing as Sox Watts Pizza Party take over at the front here. That's going to be H. Jackson. And then, I want to get an idea of what's happening here. Let's kind of like set the stage a little bit, Dave, because we've got this league group, but familiar names, but the teams and the way that they're organizing, these are going to be the narratives that come out through the next 10 races, right? These new teams that have been developed, they're going to get to know each other. It's like getting thrown into the locker room for the first time in some ways, but also some familiar faces, but some new faces on your team. So it's a kind of full reset here when it comes to the team structures in this league.
You took the word right out of my mouth, Nathan. I was going to say this is the biggest reset that we've had as far as racing goes in esports. And the big difference here is, and this was the community really catching the ear of the powers that be at Zwift, where when they saw what happened with the Zwift Tour de France and e-racing, there were a lot of folks who aren't world-class racers who said, I want to do that too. And I love the fact that with what WTRL was doing, which was revolutionary, that team time trial, they built that from scratch, from the ground up. And Zwift, working with WTRL, has been able to create exactly what the community was looking for. And, the community voted by signing up with 946. And by the time I say that, Nathan, it's probably over 950 because we're still seeing teams in scripting for the community racing. And the formula that was created here is just inspiring for me. We're going to have a lot of racing and again, for everybody. And that's the difference. So, Nathan, I'll throw it back to you. But I think a really good example of that would be what happened with Sox for Watts. You start having a positive movement and people notice, and then they want to get involved. And then you've got a Sox for Watts, the Aero Unicorns team. And the next thing you know, there's a pizza party team, and it just grows and grows. And that's one example of about 50 different team. Aeonian is another really good example of that. As I see Jamie Lee Wright, that flag is cool to see. Bermuda, Nathan, in full effect. Although Jamie Lee Wright is in London these days, she's coming back from a terrible car accident just a little over a year ago. It's really amazing that not only is she racing, but she's here in the mix in the front group. And Nathan, here we go. Another surge coming from Catherine Curie, the American champ for Sisu I Race Like a Girl, is on fire today.
Yeah, Kathleen Curry, 6.9 miles per kilogram, currently 160 beats per minute. Daniel Estrate tried to come across to her, I believe, early on. Very early attacks here. This is a little bit more of attrition. It looks like a lot more of a split. There is not a group that's coalescing together behind, and because of that, this might work. Nobody's going to be able to really sit into any wheels at this point. It's really every woman for herself, and because of that, this might end up being a breakaway situation because you're going to end up probably with, I would say, 5, 6, maybe 7 riders. Looking back, will Collins be able to make it? This is your moment. If you do not go with this, your race will be over. It looks like Balte's here from Crowdgen going backwards. Lori as well. D. Shaw toward the front, though. Rachel Elliott trying to come across. Looks like she's going to close things out. Rachel Elliott's flying up. She knows when to do the second kick here, Dave.
Well, all hands on deck, no doubt about it. This is just smashing now as Catherine Curie is doing incredible damage. Rachel Elliott, as we've talked about, is an absolute legend here on that Socks for Watts team. Nathan, this is going to just blow this race to bits. The front group is going to be less than 10 riders. And again, we're just coming up, getting close to the midpoint of that race. But that camo kit is the Romanian Express. That is Daniela Estrate here. And Nathan, she will grab the QOM points. So go ahead and put her on top of the bonification list. But here comes a counterattack over the top. This race is absolutely ballistic right now as we take a look at the Z-Sun rider pressing on. Nathan, I have to think that if you're in this group, it's to everyone's advantage right now to just keep working here. Close the back door, put a padlock on it because you don't want anybody else coming into this group. If you've done all of this work to go clear right now, you don't want this to be a wasted effort. So Estrate looks like she's ready to get back on top of it, as this might be, that's going to be it. We're going to have a split. It's going to be right around 10 riders in the vanguard of this race at the midpoint. So, okay, here we go, folks. We're going to go ahead and just reset the table for you here, as this is the front group for our Europe, Middle East, and Africa group. And right now we're looking at the selection being made. That's going to be the American flag of Catherine Curie. She, in real life, as I said, has been a U.S. national road champion. If you go back a little more than 10 years ago, she was the cream of the crop of American international racing. That's going to be Lizzie Duncombe, one of the best triathletes. Certainly, her trajectory is absolutely amazing. Lizzie Duncombe, actually, there was a really cool ad that I saw for No Pins, a sponsor of her team, showing that Sub-Zero kit that they wear. So these riders are now starting to become billboards, even as this sport is changing in front of our eyes. That is a big ride for Jamie Lee Wright to be in this group today. That is, again, a teammate for Daniela Estrate. So Nathan, let's take a look in this group. Who's got a teammate with them outside of Aeonian? It looks like we might have a couple one other match there.
Yeah, Socks for Watts are going to have Rachel Elliott and Lizzie Duncombe.
And Lizzie,
that is a great combination to have. We also have
hard to beat that
polka dot bombs here, Socks for Watts, with Cassie Baldy, but that is a separate team, and they're not sharing points. There's no love lost here. They got to ride against each other. They might help when it comes to maybe making breaks and stuff like that, I would think, being on the same brand. But
Agreed.
Polka Dot Bombs is a separate team. And when it comes down to it, it's a fight for the points at the line.
Yeah, it's always really interesting because, Nathan, the other element that you realize is that there's going to be riders who aren't on the same team that are good friends in real life, right? So there's a lot of factors here, and that's not going to discount the things that most teams take this pretty seriously. And one thing in pro bike racing is there are no gifts given. In general, you do everything you can for your team. Lizzie Duncombe is going to be a big ally for Rachel Elliott out here today. Either one of these women, I can easily imagine winning the race out here today. So Rachel Elliott is an OG of esports racing. She has been at the top of her game for quite a while and has been a motivating rider, an inspirational rider. Lizzie Duncombe, on the other hand, is fresh and a new face out here who really brings a tremendous amount of energy and knowledge. A lot of these riders work as a coach as well. And I tell you what, if you're in this, is Good, Claire Good still in
Look
this
at
group?
this.
Yeah.
Gamst is coming back. This is an amazing ride from Gamst here. BRT. She was like a full 5-6 seconds.
You
It was
don't see
going
this.
out. This is an amazing ride. Great job to the rider coming out of Denmark here. Will she be able to make it happen? It's still,
She's gonna.
they're calming down. She's going to make it happen.
Well,
what an effort here.
This is something you might see this 1 in 1,000 races, Nathan. This is incredibly rare. What she's benefiting from the fact that group started looking at each other a little bit. And you know what she's really benefiting from is her heart. She didn't give up. She's kept her head in the game. She absolutely is the star of the day right now, Nathan. This is, again, these are the performances that you might not see at the front of the bike race that define what this sport is all about. So the Danish rider Gamst here, just giving us a little bit of inspiration on a great day of racing.
Louise Gamst, she's riding for the Atomic Kittens, BRT Atomic Kittens. 5 seconds back at the last check, loving it. 4.4 watts per kilogram average so far. Hammering away here. She's going to get back on terms, it looks like here. Great ride from her. That is going to be our top, it looks like 10 riders. 10 riders have made this lead group. Meta Johnston coming from Z Sunrise. Rachel Elliott, Socks for Watts, Watt TF. Beth McIver there. Cryogen Stelvio. Cassie Baldy riding for Socks Watts, but Polka Dot Bombs. Daniela Estrate, Ionian Race Team along Jamie Lee Wright, their Ionian Racing Team. Lizzie Duncombe, also Socks for Watts. Lucy Collins in there for Draft. Good to see Draft back on the map. It's been a while, and here we go with Lucy Collins in the Draft team. Captain Curry, Susu, Race Like a Girl, and then Louise Gamst, who just got back there for the Bolt Racing Team, hammering away Atomic Kittens.
I'm going to remember that name, that's for sure. And that's a really good rundown. It's interesting when you look at it. We were talking about Daniela Estrate at the beginning as she comes in as one of those athletes with Premier League chops, I would say. But Nathan, I think you'd agree, and feel free to disagree, but Lizzie Duncombe, Rachel Elliott, Lizzie Duncombe, Rachel Elliott also fall in that category. Catherine Curie, that's the rider I'm looking for as well.
Curry, Lizzie Duncombe,
they are
Danielle
these are world-class riders.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
And, you know, amongst this group here, we do have, I'm looking through here, at least 2, maybe, I don't think 3, no, 2 live finalists as well that have made live Zwift finalists, actually, have traveled the world racing Zwift, you know, because of their racing out on Zwift. That's going to be Rachel Elliott and Cassie Baldy. So definitely top tier when it comes to it here. And this is a situation, like I said earlier, where some of these riders, they want their own team. They want to make their own situation, you know, and, you know, there was an initial invitational qualifying races. You know, it had a lot to do with whether or not he had a kit in game. And they're like, well, what if I want my own kit? I like Socks for Watts. Socks Watts doesn't have a kit. Aeonian doesn't have a kit. We'll go earn that kit. We'll get into that Premier League. And that's what they're showing us. Yeah. They do have that top tier talent, as you were saying.
Isn't that really, I mean, that's something that as I got into Zwift, Nathan, I've heard the conversation so many times about how do you get a kit. And here's an answer. Get on a team, race in Zwift Racing League, be successful, and that will happen for you. And I think that's a real motivating carrot for a lot of riders, and I completely understand that. Gamst gets the Hero of the Day award at this point with that chase back that we witnessed from about 22K to 26K in this race. But as we move now into the sweet spot here today for the women, and again, this is our Europe, Middle East, and Africa time zone, 50.8K. So let's just work with 51K of racing here today. And this is the race story. As we take a look at this front group, a couple of teams here have 2 riders. You could almost say that Socks for Watts in a bizarre way. You did a good job explaining that, but Cassie Bald on a separate Socks for Watts team. But I think that there's probably a bit of a relationship there, the Socks for Watts umbrella. Socks for Watts is a British company that makes, guess what, Nathan? Socks.
I'm so surprised. You probably get some unicorn socks.
Yeah.
Probably get some unicorn
That's
socks.
what we were saying.
Some, right?
Yeah.
So quickly here, Kim Little, you know, speaking of OGs, he's saying Rachel isn't an OG. She is the OG. You know, I have in my memory of casting Kiss Racing way back before it was even called Kiss Racing. Rachel Elliott, this is the lady who showed up, and she was whooping on the boys when it was mixed racing. We didn't have women or men. And I think Kim was one of the boys who got whooped on, maybe even by Rachel Elliott at that point. I'm not positive. Maybe not for a sprint at the line, but Rachel Elliott was racing against Kim Little for sure when it was mixed racing way back, beta racing days. And Rachel was walking away from some of the guys so much that we all were like, there's no way. What? This woman is beating all these, these dudes just whooping them? Like, are you serious? And there was a lot of questions up front. Rachel got questioned because she was so strong. She got questioned for a solid 6 months to a year. I have to admit, I wasn't a believer up front. Like, is this person really that strong? And she showed up, real life events, fully weighed in, fully calibrated across the board, and just dominated. She is the real deal for sure. As Kim Little was saying, one of the OGs of Zwift racing, has proven herself, that's for sure.
There's an immense satisfaction because of Zada and the ability for riders to be able to prove their performances through dual recording. It's maybe more complicated than we want to get into here, but these riders, and Nathan, I've experienced a few different riders over the last month who've been going through the process of becoming verified, and it's no joke. It's a financial commitment. There's a lot of equipment that you need. You're going to be, you just go all in with it, and it really helps us. You have to want to do this to do it. You don't just show up, and it really is. Rachel Elliott, there's a huge amount of satisfaction when you can say, look, it's verified, guys. So, how about them apples, right? That's one of the best feelings in the world, is that how about them apples statement when you know what you're serving up is true and honest. So we're watching some great racing going on right now. Nathan, I got to say, too, the Bermuda-based rider, Jamie Lee Wright, this is a super impressive ride for her today. This is a big leap forward. We have seen so many changes of teams and what has been going on out here. You start to recognize that there are some riders who are on a very steep upward trajectory, and Jamie Lee Wright is one of them. I mentioned earlier in the broadcast she's coming back from getting hit by a car, and that was a serious accident, and it's really nice to see that her hard work using Zwift is really starting to pay off. As we take a look at this front group, we're watching Claire Good. I'm sorry, Chase Group. Claire Good in the Chase Group, correct? Sorry,
22
Nathan.
seconds, Dave. I wanted to go back here and take a look at this. This is a motivated group. They were out to 40 at one point. They've halved that here, Dave. That's no joke. Claire is on a mission, but we saw this in the men's race as well. They came within 10 seconds, and then they hit the climb again, and it's that horrible spot to be within because you're almost there, and then the fireworks go off again. We'll have to wait and see. I have a feeling, though, it's just the reality of that next level. Maybe not going to be able to come back. Maybe there's a really strong rider, though, amongst this Chase group that might be able to launch across. Been waiting, sitting in long enough. They are resting up a little bit for this climb, it looks like, in this front group as we go back to it. Daniela's in the back here. She's waiting to go, I think, all in, though, over the top and grab those points. I think Estrate here, she's on a mission today.
Yeah, Nathan, it's really interesting. You could make a case for a bunch of different riders for the win out of this group. After what we saw from Catherine Curie on the first climb here today, Titans Grove, where she picked up the Queen of the Mountain points, she's clearly finding another level for herself as well. And this is a rider who has proven it in real life many, many times. You look at the triathlete, Lizzie Duncombe. Obviously, we've talked about Rachel Elliott as well. There's some real talent. Now, does having a teammate make a big difference on this climb, or does it come down to who's got the good legs on the day? There's not, the drafting effect is nowhere near as important as it is on the flatter sections of this course. And it really comes down to two things: who wants it more and who's stronger. It's pretty straight ahead. And Nathan, we're not to that point yet. We have another KOM to look forward to here. Volcano climb coming up next as we move into less than 20K to go for the women here. This is your front group. Let's take a look at all the riders in the group. It was Louise Gamst who made an incredible chase back. That was one of the more impressive things we've seen here this afternoon in the United States. Anyways, Catherine Curie was one of the riders that was really animated on that first climb. Cassie Bald out of the United Kingdom, Socks for Watch, but the Polka Dot Bombs team, Daniela Estrate with Aeonian, and she's got Jamie Lee Wright, her teammate here. Lizzie Duncombe with Socks for Watts, Lucy Collins of the Draft ZRL team, Beth MacGyver, the Scottish rider for Cryogen Stelvio, Meta Johnson, in there. So I feel like I'm missing one rider, and that might be Lucy Collins, I believe. Well, that is the front group, Nathan, that we're looking at. Pretty unlikely, although not impossible, that chase group is able to make contact. But I think they're going to start ramping it up again.
And real quickly, I do want to jump on over. The men's race are just hitting their first King of the Mountain for European West. This is European West, a huge pool. We are following along with Pool 3, I believe it is, for the men's West. This is going to be containing the Canyon Dev team, as well as a few others here. BRT, Canyon Dev is in here. CCR is in here. Dirt, DZR, which is going to be a new Danish team that's out there. England CC, as well as KST is going to be out here. OVB, coming out of Great Britain. Race 3R, Race Hub, Sheppy Velo is all in here. Team Type 1, Tour 2000. So be on the watch out for these guys. They're going to be hitting their first King of the Mountain here. We'll be following along with them for our final race of our coverage of the European zone here. So European East in the men's, we covered Pool 4. You can go back and watch that rerun after the broadcast. You might be able to do it on one of the platforms. Go back if you want to watch. We're in with the Pool 1 for the women's European, and then we are in with Pool 3 with the men's European West. That's what we're looking at right now. We'll make sure to catch what happens over the top of their first KOM as they head into Titans Grove right now. So much racing going on out here. Lots of pools. It's all getting sorted. And as it gets sorted out, we'll have over the next 2 weeks figuring out who our top teams are in each of these divisions.
Yeah, as Nathan noted, there is so much going on. It seems like we could just talk about details and how the points work and just, a vast array of things. But one thing that you can do if you're interested in getting data and understanding the point structure and schedules is go to WTRL, and that stands for World Tactical Racing League .racing. You'll find a lot of information there as we check back in with the front group, 33 kilometers into this 50. I'm going to go with 51 for total race distance, but the sting is in the tail on that volcano climb. We'll see things get sorted out. I don't know, Nathan. I am really looking at Catherine Curie today. This finale really does suit her. No teammate, however, and that might be the difference maker out here because a couple, it's not just, so Daniela Strate has Jamie Lee Wright as her sidekick out here today, and then Rachel Elliott has a very talented Lizzie Duncombe to work with, and that's Lizzie sitting second wheel up there right now on the Z-Sun R Riders wheel, and that's Meta Johnson, MJ, Meta Johnson there, the English flag.
I'm going to throw out Lizzie Duncombe, I think, has been resting up. I think she had some events. I think that she
it's funny.
was really focused on some events. I think that after that, it was kind of, I don't know. I just, watching her socials, watching her posts, I'm just getting a feeling that she did her events for the year, that she could get done after the COVID, and now it's like, I'm all in on Zwift racing, and as we go into this Zwift racing league, I'm going to commit here, and I just have a feeling that Lizzie might be coming on some serious form right now.
It's funny. I heard through speaking of socials that Lizzie Duncombe is a triathlete, a world-class Iron Woman triathlete. She actually ran a half marathon this morning in London.
I'm totally off. So Nathan couldn't be more wrong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just to put it in perspective for you, that's the kind of athlete that you're dealing with, right? She literally ran 13 miles this morning and is out here doing this, making the front group. And that's why I think she might be setting up Rachel Elliott.
I think you might be right then. And, that's pretty.
It's mind blowing,
amazing,
isn't it?
Pretty amazing that she was out there running 13 miles already. I want to know what kind of.
If it weren't for Instagram, right? Instagram is how you know this kind of stuff, right? But I mean, that's just. Nathan, do we have two riders coming into or coming out of this group?
Coming
out of the group.
Maybe is that right? Well, Collins.
Holy cow!
Gamps.
If
no,
that's
you're
a
right.
catch,
no, you're right. You are
okay.
right. Actually, I believe they just exited here.
So I just want to make the point that Louise Gamst, who made that incredible chase back, you pay a price for that, don't you, Nathan? I mean, that she spent 5 minutes out in the wind making a huge effort. She's fighting back again. This kid is all heart. Oh, well, actually, I say kid. I have no idea how old she is, but this human being is all heart, no doubt about it. She's going to ride back into this group, Nathan.
Yeah, it's a huge effort here coming from Gamst, and she just sets it here. It looks like Collins now another 6.1 watts per kilogram, trying to get one last dig, but it's starting to ride away from her. Daniela Strate always in that spot, right at the back here, but Gamst again gets back on term. Look at the speed as they slow down ahead, though. They are giving her a little bit of wiggle room here, it looks like.
I have a feeling that Lizzie Duncombe has done a tremendous job of trying to keep the pace high for Rachel Elliott and is still going to be there for her. I think it's to their advantage, Nathan, to keep it hard in this front group. What is your thought on that? Because they're not trying to break away here, but they're certainly keeping the pace way up there in the stratosphere. Both of the riders here for Sox for Watts.
I do think they're just trying to make it difficult, make sure that they both stay involved at the front of this here, while making sure that they can cover any attacks. I think that's exactly what's going on here. Controlling the front of this, making sure that any attacks that come across, they are watching Estrate and Jamie Wright, I believe. I believe that is going to be the two riders. They saw what they did over the top of the last two climbs, and they want to make sure that it doesn't happen again, and they can grab as many points as possible. It's all about control and maximum points across the line at the end here, and they have been very consistent, nothing else.
For me, everything, if I'm Sox for Watts, is going to key off of Catherine Curie, to tell you the truth. I'm going to let her help me figure out my strategy, because I don't want to attack Catherine and have her chasing me in the last K. I want to come up and over the top of her attack if I think I'm going to win this bike race today. And that's going to be Catherine Curie. You can see the only American flag in this group here. And so she is racing out of California. It's right around lunchtime where she's racing. So that's actually the sweet spot of the day here in North America. Our European, and almost all of these riders are going to be European, Middle East, or Africa based. So just after dinner time out there. But Nathan, I think it's starting to hot up, because there you go. It looks like we're seeing that's going to be the Z-Sun R rider, Meta Johnson, and she's going to blow this up. So there's no longer any goodwill in this group. They're starting to attack each other like the Donner Party.
We do see MJ, it looked like, trying to take down that last sprint point, but unable to do so, it looked like. Let's take a real quick look here at the replay of that and how it ended up playing out there. Daniela Strate, the first one to give a go, and then it was Rachel Elliott trying to follow, but it looks like Sox for Watts, with that steady pace that they sent, weren't really able to come across, though, as it was Cryogen here leading things out. Estrate fading backwards here. Catherine Curry gonna almost be the next one across the line, but nope. Going to be the Z-Sun rider for third, it looks like. Jamie Wright, then Catherine Curry. Looks like actually Sox for Watts on the back foot. Interesting enough.
Yeah.
Through that little bit of a sprint there. I'm not sure they got any points through there.
Yeah, and scoring those points again, if you're just joining us, 5 deep, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in the descending order there. So, well, we're whittling this one down now, as it looks like 7 riders up in that front group. So that last surge for those QOM points will have put paid to a few riders. That a lot of lactic acid pooling up in the legs, that's for sure. So let's see who's left here as we go back and rejoin the men.
In with the men, and it looks like Tortuque Callis. This is a serious move here that happened, and we're going to take a quick look exactly how this went down, because the men had a split that I was not expecting at all in their first climb over the top here, and this is how it ended up playing out here. Let's take a quick look at this replay. It was Canyon Dev that were the first one to go, and that will be Velez that were making the move. Then Tortuque Callis there with Thomas there, as well as Vosgaro there from the KST team, actually looking to come across, does so with 11 watts per kilogram, 353 watts. He makes that move. Velez gets back on terms there. KST, we also see the other Canyon rider, Kaminsky and Biam. Then it's going to be Hutchins and Brown all coming across. Canyon Dev with a serious move, though, with Tortuque. Dirt's in there as well. OVB all making this front move. But that's what split things apart right there with that move from Thomas from Tortuque, taking down the sprint there. And that's how we got into this situation of relieving Titans Grove. As it looks like Tortugues Calais, they've definitely shown up. That's a team that's been on the radar ever since spring and COVID. They showed up and really started to make themselves known here in the Zwift racing community. And I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. They've been using this WSR World Social Ride kit actually out on Zwift for quite a while here, and it's good to see that they're in the hunt now for that top Premier League. I think they're definitely ones to watch out for that.
Well, this has been the formula that we've seen in every race. 114 took the start, and we're down to a really select group, Nathan, and this is only 20K in. So is it the motivation starting the series for ZRL? You feel a tremendous amount of energy about that, but it looks like the top racers have really gotten after it out here in every single race that we have seen. This one's certainly another perfect example of that.
You know, so Dave, I also think on that point, it might be how, okay, so we've been talking about making things regional for so long, and people really being able to be recognized by their region, recognized by their state, then recognized by their country. It might be also because we're separating things out a little bit more to find out who's who from where. This is West.
I agree.
This is who's who in West. Whereas when we did the usual European streams, it might have been everyone, not only from Europe, there's some people coming in from America. There's some people coming in from here, and we do have some mixture here, but this is mainly European West, and so I have a feeling that we're just going to kind of see the cream of the crop when it comes to these top riders in this specific league division.
Question for you then, if you had to guess, why do you think Catherine Curie is racing in this time zone, which is, we have a couple races coming up that would be more, maybe she has a work commitment in the evenings here in the U.S., something, that's certainly possible, isn't it? Because Curie is one of the...
Dave, so I think on that question, you have teams in real life racing that are very international as well, maybe, so like,
yes,
that
absolutely.
I Race Like a Girl is a very international team where like, I think their headquarters is in Australia, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere in the lands down under, or at least the person who kind of helps run the whole, I believe, I might be mistaken about that. But, they have riders very spread out around the world. And so because of that, maybe there's a little bit more of like, well, we'll adjust our schedule to be in the one that makes the most sense for our team. And then
for the team,
there'll be more regional teams that will be much more concentrated in one of the regions.
That's a really good point. And I didn't think of that, but absolutely. And you're going to see, I think, then that will happen more in the A and B categories. And C and D, you'll probably see it be more people that would actually know the other riders in real life or be from the same part of the world, at least. So, yeah, it's really interesting how this all works and comes together as we take a look at the front group again. Now, as our men's race motoring through the midpoint, we're basically going to be putting up racing content 24/7 on Tuesdays all the way through the end of the year. There are just so many races that, and because of the fact that we have so many teams and racers, this is a dream come true for so many of us. I'm just so excited that we actually have the Zwift Racing League underway, and it really seems like the formula is playing out exactly the way we want. As we take a look at a big moment in this race, Nathan, they are having at it. Look at this, a lot of riders in trouble right now.
Yeah, we do see Canyon Dev. This is going to be that Canyon Esports team. They recently did a great social media post highlighting all of their dev riders that are taking place in the Zwift Racing League. Make sure you go check them out. Amazing job by Canyon throwing this together and supporting the development of this. And their aim, obviously, is to get to that top level. We saw Canyon dominating in yesterday's race. Ollie Jones, Alex West, Lionel V. Austin, the Duck himself, making things happen, making moves yesterday. They did a dominating effort yesterday, and now we do see Canyon Dev chomping at the bit here, looking to get involved also and show what they're made of to try and make that top team. Look at them over the top here in the West. 1-2 Canyon Dev.
Yeah, so that's 9 points right there. 5 for first, 4 for second, and we only score 5 deep at the KOM. So you're not going to do too much better than that as we take a look at Kaminsky here. As Nathan mentioned, this looks like the entire Canyon Dev team is in the front group right now. They're having an incredible ride up to this point.
definitely stack the field. I saw that when I jumped into Zwift Power and saw the start list. This is part of the reason why we picked this pool. I figured this would be a very competitive pool with Tor 2K Callus versus Canyon Dev. We also got DZR, always the Danish riders, ones to be watching out for here. So we've got quite the race. It's going to be a boxing match all the way to the finish line, I believe here. I don't think it's going to be this calm looking at each other. You can see T-Type 1, Higginbottom, trying to get back on terms. Holt there from DZR, hanging on the back here. They're not going to, I don't think they're going to be holding punches here. I think that's going to be full on here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I don't think that anybody's going to be asking for any quarter to be given. This is going to be full gas racing from here on in. So we still now, as Canyon Dev has sort of set the standard here, it's going to be interesting to see how the other teams are going to respond to this because, yeah, the points start stacking up. But again, if you're just joining us, we've had a chance to discuss how this series works, and you're not going to see any real runaways here because of this point structure. Today's points, all of the riders will be adding them up on the team. The team with the most points then will get 20 points, second place team 19, and we'll work our way down to the final team of the 20 getting 1 point out here. So it's an interesting structure, but one that's going to make for 10 great weeks of racing. And Nathan, they're going to split this group again. It looks like it's right on that line.
Yeah, real quickly, I want to chat a little bit more about this Canyon Dev team just because we've actually got Lionel Viasen in here. Canyon Dev mode, most likely helping to train up. And that's one of the cool things also here, having those veterans of the sport coming in, training up, giving some pointers. That is part of the reason why they're at the front here, because they know how to race. They've got some of the best riders, training them up, teaching them what to do. I also want to have a chat, though, about some of what we were talking about earlier when it comes to the competitions that are playing out here, as we're seeing within chat over at YouTube, the fans of both Ed Laverick and Lionel Viasen going back and forth at each other, because Ed is not in the Premier League, right? But we do see Ed Laverick is not in the Premier League, but he says, "We'll see you, Lio. We'll see you." And they were talking about whether or not he's going to be in the Premier League. So obviously, Wahoo Lacole have some, they've got some goals in mind here, and they're already putting them out there. They're not just doing that. I mean, their legs are doing the talking, so they're going to back it up, I think, here. But it's good to see we already have a little competition coming out of the community saying, "We're coming for you, Premier League. We're coming for you."
I love it. That's what it's all about. Wahoo, everyone would know, is the world-class equipment manufacturers. Lacole, I don't know United States-based folks, Nathan, would be that familiar with the brand, but really world-class cycling wear kit, if you will. And they do they're even friends of ours at Zwift, actually, but Lacole does a tremendous job, and that team is really bringing their A game, no doubt about it. And I'm with you. I enjoy that banter, and that's going to be a big part of the success of this community, is keeping it fun and keeping each other honest, and it's the best. It really is. We take a look again at this is Drugmans on the Canyon Dev team. They have stacked this front group with talent.
Yeah, we do see a little bit of a push here.
Mexican flag.
Yeah, there's a Mexican flag. Actually, great call there, because we did see Aida de Nora Garal in there saying, "Go Canyon, go Danny, Mexico." So it's great to see the chat coming on in, specifically around that athlete that you were just referencing. So that's really great pickup there, Dave. Now, real quickly, I want to highlight this question because you can see the points over at WTRL.racing. It's looking to get updated right now. A quick update, a little bit of housekeeping again. First round here, first week, Zwift Power. If you haven't noticed, if you head over to ZwiftPower.com, you're getting the NGINX error here and there. There's so many races going on, so many people trying to load up Zwift Power, and so many races being calculated right now. We're trying to keep the servers to keep up right now. So WTRL and Zwift, they're working on it, and we'll get the points updated as soon as we possibly can. We'll get them on screen. If they do not get updated here during the broadcast or over at WTRL.racing, give it a solid 6 to 12 hours. WTRL will be on it. they're the most trusted organizer by far out on Zwift, I would say, and we're just going to have to give it a little bit of time. So I wish I could show you the points at this moment, but we're having to get some backup data here as Zwift Power is just struggling with just the mass of riders, 6,000 riders throughout the day, and a huge amount of that is just in this section, the European zone.
Yeah. Well, and Nathan, this is going to be one of the big challenges we have with so much incredible racing going on because, I mean, already now the women are down to about 6K to go as we pick up again. This is going to be the front group for the women here. And let's go ahead and run through who's made this selection. Louise Gamst has been incredible. Did she get back in? She did. I mean, this is what a ride she's having is Gamst, the Danish rider, Catherine Curie with the I Race Like a Girl Sisu squad. Meta Johnson has been strong out there today. We've talked about Socks for Watts, Rachel Elliott, Scottish rider Beth MacGyver. You have Cassie Baldy, who Nathan was mentioning as one of the another one of the riders with massive amounts of experience. Danielle Estrate of Aeonian, along with Jamie Lee Wright. These two are having an incredible ride. You can see that camo kit for those two on their Tron bikes. And then Lizzie Duncombe having another great day out here. Lizzie is just one of these Energizer Bunny superstar athletes who's just getting better and better. And Nathan, that's a good look at our front group, the Giants of the Road.
Now we do see Collins here not giving up. This is such a valiant effort. I don't think she's coming back unless somebody gets absolutely like full nuclear on the run-in to Titans Grove reverse climb. I believe Collins not going to be able to that, but this is still an amazing effort. She is obviously in full TTT mode here, hammering away 183 beats per minute, 280 watts. She's closed down a solid amount of time here, but the group, it's just too difficult to come back. Great job to Collins, though. Team draft, still solid points. That's the cool thing about racing here in the Zwift Racing League, that 30th, first through 30th place, all get points for the team. You got to finish with a solid result still, and that means all the way back here with Cockcroft here, she's trying to stay
They're
away.
in the money.
Roberts,
they're in the money.
Yep. Exactly. All these riders are still racing for the team. That's what's so cool about the Zwift Racing League and the team points and how it all works out at the end of the day.
I agree. And it's one of those things, too, is you really realize collegiate racing in the United States is that way. Every point matters. It's sometimes in this series, the way that it's been set up, it is going to matter what happens. And you don't give up one spot out there. It doesn't have to be the front group. The difference between 12th and 11th might be the difference for winning overall at the end of the day. But as we focus now back on the vanguard of this race, this is the front group. They're down to, let's say, 5K of racing remaining here, but the sting is in the tail. That last bit up to the top of the Titans Grove reverse where we finished. We've just gone over the final QOM point there on Volcano Climb. So this is the chase. Again, Collins has been working hard here. That's a tough shot. You can see them just on the other side of the steaming lake there.
They're right there. They're two turns. When you're in a cyclocross race or a mountain bike race, I mean, it's like, there's just another turn. I mean, on the road too. That's my relation though to this. Like, I've been in this situation where like, oh, they're just right there. Yeah, well, no, they're not coming back that quickly here actually. But
you can smell the embrocation on their legs. You're so close, but you're so far.
Yeah,
at the same time, right?
She is a queen. TT and strong alone for sure. Thanks a lot, chat, for bringing that in. And Gamps, though, another one who's clawed her way back over and over again. We'll see if this, I have a feeling, though, after being dropped almost on every climb and clawing her way back, not sure it's going to be able to happen on the climb here. What's the setup here? What are we thinking? I mean, you were saying that Lizzie Duncombe, and I saw it in chat, Clive King, one of the, I believe he's helping with de-essing out here today from KRT, one of Rachel Elliott's former teammates, is saying Lizzie's most likely working for Rachel out there. So we'll see if Rachel's saving something for the finish.
Yeah, I mean that was my theory there, was that she's looking to set up Rachel Elliott, which would make all the sense in the world out here. In the same way that I would believe that Jamie Lee Wright is looking to try to help her teammate, because that's the name of the game in professional bike racing, is the sacrifices that you make for one rider. It's a team sport that has individual glory, but that's the beautiful thing about WTRL and Zwift Racing League, is we're able to turn that back to the glory of the team, because all of the points that the riders earn then are put into a collective for the squad, and that is how we're ultimately keeping score. But I still think the solo rider here, Catherine Curie, who based out of California, is the rider to beat. That's my tip, Nathan. I really feel strongly that this course suits her incredibly well. She's got good legs. And I mean, this one is wide open. There are a lot of scenarios. I highly recommend, if you're a fan of bike racing, go ahead and embrace the next 10 minutes, because these women will put on a show. No doubt about it.
I'd say about 2K to go maybe to the line here at this point here. MJ now taking over to the front, Z-Sun. Now, a couple of upsets, I would think here. You know, we've got the well-known branded name, Sisu, I Race Like a Girl, Socks for Watts is out there as well, Bolt Racing Team. But Z-Sun, they're a well-known team as far as like having a very broad team, like a lot of riders here. But MJ is putting them on the map here at the top level. So solid ride here from MJ. Be on the watch out. You know, something that we've learned, we've broadcasted, I think it's going to be 4, 5, 6 races here so far almost on this course throughout the day, including the Premier League yesterday in the last 24 hours. And over again, what I've noticed, the riders who are taking the King of the Mountain, Queen of the Mountain, they're still strong at the end because of the nature of this course. Because these sections of the courses, they're not places that you can hide. Because of that, it's just who's got it. It's just whether or not you're stronger than the other riders. And so I have a feeling that those who took the King of the Mountains, the Queen of the Mountains, like MJ, like Daniela Estrate, Jamie Lee Wright coming over the top, unless these other riders were really hiding, really waiting up, and only were thinking about the end of the race, they may be the ones that are strongest at the end as well. As MJ, she's just sticking it to them. She's not even waiting.
Yeah, this rider out of Ulster or Northern Ireland there has been really impressive today. Meta Johnson, again, the Northern Irish rider, has taken the front. Daniela Estrate getting up on that wheel. Nathan, we're really starting to position ourselves for the Battle Royale. Yeah, here we go. So, well, again, Lizzie trying to do everything she can. She's going to come back into this group. She's done a fair amount of work along the way for her teammate, Rachel Elliott, as she fights back into the group. But at this point, or we're getting very close to, it's every woman for herself in any moment now. So Estrate is going to want to get up there because the fireworks are about to start. They're lighting the fuse right now. Who's going to be the bomb out here today? Again, great to see that Northern Irish flag up on the front. Meta Johnson is having the ride of a lifetime. Being up in this front group was no mean feat, but now we're going to find out who the Queen of Zwift is, as it is on like Donkey Kong now. Who's going to win out of this group? Again, I was looking at Catherine Curie. There's Lizzie Duncombe back up on the front. Again, we've been anticipating she's riding for Rachel Elliott. Let's see if that turns out to be true. Here we go, Nathan. The race is on. 1K to the finish.
Yep, Jamie Lee Wright now, Daniela Estrate, they're both playing the back of the pack here, but no, it's going to be Elliott to the front. She says, stop it. We are not going to allow you to just sit on. No tail gunning here at this point. Gets a gap here. Baldy here now, 6.4 watts per kilogram. There's no love lost between them. They're in two separate teams. They might both be Socks for Watts, but she's polka dot bombs, and Rachel Elliott's riding for WTF. So now it's going to be MJ here. Catherine Curie, though, right on the wheel. Sees exactly where Cassie Baldy's going. Grabs it now. Early feather power-ups here. Those are way early here, Dave.
Yeah, well, and that's not a good sign, is it? Because hopefully you're going to deploy that in the final 200 meters so you can see that everybody is going to be a little bit of panic going on right now, as Catherine Curie is the rider to watch in my estimation. She's going to be the rider in the pink and the purple up on the front. A world-class climber, no doubt. But again, a little bit of a lull. Everybody trying to keep their power drive because they realize it's going to be one well-timed explosion required to win this bike race here today. Certainly when you look at the points now and the team aspect here, there's a couple of teams. Aeonian has got to be really happy, and Socks for Watts has got to be really happy. One of those two teams most likely is going to win the day, but who's going to win the bike race? There's another. That's going to be Curie. That's Curie with the feather power up. Here we go, Nathan. It is full gas from here on in. Catherine Curie's going to push all of her chips into the middle of the table. Curie's all in, and they are responding. Jamie Lee Wright is riding out of her skin right now. The rider out of Bermuda having a phenomenal ride. She's got Estrate right there, but it looks like, is it going to be coming over the top? It is. Cryogen and MacGyver making a huge move. Nathan, I'm going to throw it back to you. It's wow, what a ride.
Cryogen makes it happen. What a move by MacGyver there. Oh my goodness. Huge numbers there.
Wow.
And that was an upset a little bit there. What a move by Cryogen. I was super impressed by that, and very great to see. Now we do see the rest of the riders coming on here. These positions definitely matter still. This is the final kick here. This was the chase group. There are a couple trying to chase this down. Frisk here that's going to be coming in, I believe, for this is going to be, Gamps is coming in still. So Gamps, she's actually 9th place. So this is still top 10. I mean, this is a lot of points on the line here. Frisk now coming across. Now Lori is there as well. Kim Hurst is here now trying to come across, coming out of New Zealand. But it's going to be SZ leading things out here, Dave.
Yeah, well, and I got to say, Aeonian, Nathan, by my estimation, ends up doing the best if you look at the team competition, and that's how this is scored. So we'll see if I'm correct on that. But I think Aeonian might have done enough to even better Socks for Watts there. Again, there's more points out here, but it is a table that rapidly decreases in value. Right, you really it is top loaded when you look at the individual points for the finish, and there we go.
What a kick there from
it
Bristol
looks like
Friars.
Lucy Collins
Thompson, Lucy Collins holding off. I mean, she worked so hard, was able to hold off part of the group, but not able to stick with the whole group. So, or not able to hold off the whole group though, and ended up getting caught there. Out to 37th. This is outside of the points. Still getting across the line. Nice job there to Revo. Now we're going to jump back in, though, with the men's West here in Pool 3. And they're out on their King of the Mountain here, hammered away. 14th place currently with TSK. But we said earlier it was really going to be about Tour 2K versus Canyon Dev, and we're not being disappointed there. Hutchins on the front, pushing the pace with Drugmans making something happen. But here comes KST. This is a team out of Denmark, 206 beats per minute. This kid, I mean, I got to say it's a kid. I mean, this has got to be a young heart here at 208.
Wow, 208. That's insane. Nathan, every single race that we've witnessed has had a pretty similar storyline. They've raced incredibly aggressively over that Titans Grove climb. So again, to bring you up to speed if you're joining us, we are 35K into a little over 50 kilometers of racing out here. They have 3 KOMs that they'll see along the way. They're scored 5 deep, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 points. These points are then all collected. Each team, we add up your King of the Mountain points from all 3 KOMs, your finishing points, which is scored 30 deep. So again, the top 30 points matter here. And so that's how we end up with all of the points. We add your team points together, and we're going to find out who our leader is in the first week of 10 as we kick off the Zwift Racing League here. And what a way we've kicked off the community racing today. And Nathan, that's the big story, isn't it? That we have racing like this for everybody.
Apologies on that. It does look like Thomas Tour 2K did take that, with Kaminsky, I think, taking second, and then it will be Vazgra, I believe, or Drugmans. One of the Drugmans, I think, actually coming in through for third. So Canyon Dev, I think, taking second and third. Tour 2K taking first across the line. We'll have to double check that, though, with the preems. I am getting the Martin from WTRL is letting us know, yeah, it might be a little while. We're with any of the results, so we're going to be leaving the preems alone here. We're going to look to be resolving in the next 12 to 24 hours on them, just so everybody knows. So Zwift Power's looking to catch up with the sheer numbers at this point of racers. So just as a heads up, everybody know a lot of people wondering where things are at. We're going to try and get all the replays here through, try and get as much as we can cover as we come through when it comes to each of the races they come through, each of these KOMs. But it sounds like lots going on all day long here with each of these zones in this European. We'll be back for the Americas later today. Maybe at that point we'll have caught up here with Zwift Power and the servers here. But it does look like Sigsgaard. Now, KST, this is how it's done. 5'5", 400 watts. He's coming back. This is a big match to be burned, letting it go a little bit too much over the top, but just barely getting back on terms. Don't usually see this here, Dave. May have lost Dave as well. Dave, I think you muted yourself for a second.
We are looking at a rider coming right up and going
Dave, I was worried.
Group.
I was like, well, Zwift Power, now Dave? We broke the whole internet today.
Well, yeah, it's fine. I'm hanging in there. That's for sure. And I really, my heart goes out to everybody working on that because, again, it's a good problem to have. We've never seen these kind of numbers. It's been absolutely mind-blowing to have this amount of interest. So it's flattering, and I know that everybody on the team is working super, super hard. And, you know, when you talk about those premiums, I had someone asking me in a separate chat, that's the same as the KOM. So when we're talking about those two things, interchangeable there. Preem, basically a race within the race, which is exactly what a KOM or QOM is. And we're scoring those for points here. And that's all part of the big tally out here today. As we jump back in, almost 38K in, Nathan, here. So it's 12K of racing, and there's going to a lot of action will happen over this final 12K. This is an interesting size group, and this has, again, really been the story of the day. They make these selections, and then once we get down under around 20 riders, that's where you really see it locked down. It's really hard to attack out of a group like this. And it usually, Nathan, seems to come down to the final kilometer here.
Yeah, we just want to highlight here, Jerry Delport, very long time viewer. Good to see him out here. And he's got a great point when it comes to what's going on, you know, with the unexpected. You know, it wasn't like this was, so Zwift, I want to shoot back a little bit. If those who remember the Jens Voigt days of beta, right? And when Jens Voigt broke Zwift because he had so many people, he was such a huge attraction. Well, WTRL is the Jens Voigt of Zwift Power now. That's essentially what's happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's doing the shut up legs to Zwift Power at this point, and legs are saying, I don't know if I can shut up at this point. So WTRL doing a great job, and they're doing a Yenzi to the catch-up on Zwift Power at this point, as it was not, you know, maybe not quite as prepared for the reality of what WTRL would be doing in the Zwift Racing League. And so pretty cool to see. And, you know, back in the day, it wasn't great to have the reality of a Jens ride might have been once or twice not worked out the best for everybody, and we're having that situation, but it also pushed the platform to get better and grow bigger. And I think that's what we're going to see with Zwift Power now, which is really good to see.
There were 15,000 people riding this morning, Nathan, when I got on Zwift. The numbers are mind-blowingly larger than they were a year ago. So we're seeing some real change. And, yeah, I mean, there are some servers right now that are smoking and sputtering and are really right now struggling because, I mean, think how much data is being pushed through the system right now. That is a lot of meat to put through the grinder. And of course it clogs up every now and then. So yeah, here we go. 40K in, a little over 10K before this one is done and dusted for our men's race out here. Yeah, and so that's a decent question, isn't it? How can two Cat A groups be racing at the same time? Well, they're different time zones, right, Nathan? Different parts of the world.
And divisions. So even within the time zones, because there were so many teams that had registered, we actually have, so the
this European, is the qualifying we've been, the seeding we've been talking about.
Yeah, so the European East had 6 pools. The European West had like 7 pools. The women had 2 pools. So, and even within that, next week, still, we're going to have that many pools. And we'll still have that many divisions after the pooling is done. It's just, we'll have the top tier divisions, and it'll kind of slowly go down through the categories. So essentially, we're seeding everybody for where they're going to stack up within their divisions. So, I mean, yeah, it's a lot of racers all racing at the same time.
Let me give some perspective. The biggest bike race in America every year is the Sea Otter Classic. They have road and mountain bike, and they really appeal to a whole spectrum of racers. Now, every single week on Thursdays, the WTRL puts more racers out on course than what Sea Otter does per day. And that has just basically doubled in the last couple of weeks because of an intense demand. And look at this, Nathan. Talk about intensity. This race is going absolutely ballistic right now. It's Canyon Development on the attack. Again, Velez has been insanely talented. And here we go. They're going to come up over the top. This might be a big moment for the guys up in the front group, and Canyon Dev is right now pouring it on. They might have 3 riders. Well, it's going to come back together here, but Canyon Dev is hitting hard right now.
Yeah, Canyon Dev, they're showing why they have made this team. But Hutchins here, Tour 2K, they have been
That's a counterattack. Though. Nice job.
Absolutely unstoppable. Yes. And here's the question. This counterattack may not be a breakaway solo, but this is going to break anybody off the back that might not be able to hold on to this pace. This is the last section before the reverse KOM on Titans Grove before the finish line that you can really make something happen. This 2-tier can really hurt because you can carry some speed over the top. It's one of those short enough where you can just punch so hard to carry 48, 50 kilometers per hour. Canyon Dev trying to make this happen. They're not going to chase. Because there's 3 teams here, KST, Callis could all get involved. Will Jugman's chased out his teammate. He needs to back off. Well, there's also the team point situation, so maybe they're going to chase this down and try and just break this group. We'll see how they play it.
Isn't that interesting, Nathan? I hadn't thought about that yet, where chasing down a teammate takes on a whole different relativity when you look at the fact that this really isn't about the individual win. It's about getting as many riders up there as you possibly can. So that's an interesting conversation. I'm sure that we're going to have a few times during the next 10 weeks of this opening round of racing for the Zwift Racing League. Nathan, this is really frenetic racing going on here in this front group as they can now sniff the finish line. They're within 10K here. I haven't seen it much more active than this at any point out here today. Just all over the shop, they're having at it. You can see we're starting to deploy some of the power-ups out here. There's a drafting power-up being thrown down. Another one.
We do see, it looks like this is, as I said earlier, they are not holding any punches. That's part of the reason why I picked this. I knew with all of this young talent that they were going to be looking to punch above their weight. They were going to be looking to say, okay, we got to show what we got here, especially with Tour 2K Callis in here. They're a very experienced team as well. So interesting to see how this is playing out. Now, there's a couple of other teams, though, that are in here. I mean, Canyon Dev and Tour 2K, they've kind of been the instigators, but we don't want to sleep on DZR. They've kind of been following wheels. They keep them quiet, 143 beats per minute. They could be a little bit of an upset over the top here. Casket as well. I've raced against this rider here, Skyrocket. Watch out for him. Solo, nobody with him. He's just going to follow wheels and make everybody else do the work. He's a good climber, very lightweight as well. Toward the front now, we do see KST. He's been singled out, though, at this point. So I'm not sure if he wants to just follow wheels because this put a move out the front here. He's got to put something in reserve. He was off the back on the climb as well, so maybe just trying to position well.
I would agree with the positioning comment here because it's going to be so this man is being used as a weapon here. They absolutely have weaponized Velez here. I don't know that he's going to be their guy. So he's in a really good situation, been incredibly aggressive out here. He's done a lot of work that's helped out his teammates, and he continues to look strong. This is a heck of a ride that we're witnessing here from the entire Canyon development team, but in particular Velez. If one of his teammates does get the win, he's certainly played a role, no doubt about it. Putting him under pressure again.
Oh, yeah, Velez has been absolutely amazing today, nonstop, and he has been the bait to pull out any kind of matches that they possibly can from these other strong teams. Now, a quick question coming through here from, it looks like SF Amelie here over on Twitch, saying, how far is this race? Well, last time we'll show it here on the day. This is what's been done, at least on the day for this zone. We still got a couple more zones to go here throughout the day for the Americas, but Desert, Titans Grove, Watopia Hill, then into the volcano. That's all done. 50.04 kilometers, 31.1 miles. Total climbing, 1,879 feet. They're going to be doing Titans Grove reverse in just a moment here. So all the King of the Mountains are done for the bonus points. The final King of the Mountain for the finish line is going to be the reverse of that first one we just saw. You see the finish there pop up. That's going to be through the springs and up that sharp climb. So 50.4 total. They are almost to the finish now as we do see 44.5 on the board.
Boy, Nathan, again, when you look at the point structure here, Canyon Dev has done all they needed to do at this point to put themselves in a really solid position to be the top team out here today. Although that discussion is not over, because you do have the Tour 2K Callis team that are in with a shot here as well. But it's going to be one of those two teams, much like we saw, I would guess, when we see the final results coming from the women. It's either going to be Sox for Watts, but I think it's going to be Aeonian in the race that we just watched their finale a few minutes ago. But now it's time to turn our attention to the guys. They're just coming up on 5K to go. Boy, that last K, Nathan, it all goes down there, but you got to give it up for Giovanni today, the Mexican rider, having an outstanding ride. This is quite a selection that we're looking at here.
Yeah, and the Canyon Dev team, I'm absolutely loving what they're doing here as far as working this group. You know, they've been sending riders off the front. They're playing the games you like to see. You like to see when they strategize, put tactics out there, and then it works. And it looks like it's really worked together with what Tour 2K has been up to. Tour 2K, though, yeah. I feel like they've kind of been more of the aggressors at times. Well, no, excuse me, not aggressors. Excuse me, other way around. Completely the
They've
other
been
way
playing
around.
defense. They've definitely been playing defense.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then they've been coming across at the perfect timing to get the most points that they can. So it'd be interesting to see. I mean, 4v4, is that right? No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at 6 at this point. Wow. This is quite a team versus team.
It is. And I mean, look at this. They very well could have 6 of the top 10 spots when this one is put paid at the end of just over 50 kilometers. So we're just about 4.5, a little under 4.5 kilometers from the finish here. The Danish riders, like Sisgaard on KST, they're hanging right in there as well. This has been an impressive day from that squad, so I don't want to sell them short. But it looks like, well, we're going to start seeing the Callis guys pushing a little bit harder. And I get the feeling that this is the moment that the organization from Canyon Dev, that's the team in the all-blue kit here that we're looking at, they're ready to spring the trap at any moment now. That is certainly the team that I'm going to be watching very, very closely. I love the format we have for the ZRL. There's no doubt about it. This is going to create for some interesting storylines, and it's going to be a little bit different than what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, and, you know, DZR, I think you're right there. They have been just waiting, it seems like, waiting for this moment. And they haven't been the highest scoring team when it came to coming across the bonus points for the KOMs. 30 points on the line, that could boost them so much at this point. But with how many have made this front group, numbers matter being in this front group. Canyon Dev, as well as Tour 2K Callis, it's going to be about stacking the podium to get the most points for who actually wins today. I'm sure that this is still up for grabs, actually. You know, Tour 2K, they had better points, I believe, across the lines for the bonuses. I'm not positive about that. I think they did. But then across the line, if they stack the podium, they can still take down Canyon Dev. So this is still up for grabs, it looks like here. But DZR, if they could be an upset and say, forget it, Tour 2K, forget it, Canyon, we're not going to let you take those top points.
Well, I agree. When you look at it, Nathan, if I remember correctly, that first KOM was dominated by the Canyon Dev team. So I'm going to say that they're going to have to miss a step.
To take it down. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Tour 2K
is
podium.
So exactly what you were saying earlier. They're still kind of in this defensive position, but it's not over, and they've shown that they're fighters. But at this point now, this is Canyon Dev's race to lose as far as once we're done counting up all the points and assigning them. It's going to be one of these two teams, but it is noteworthy that the Danish riders, DRT, they're at worst a top 3 team out here, I'm going to say, with the ride that they put together today. But it's all, the proof is in the pudding, isn't it? And this pudding is about to be served up here as the final climb hits you after a hard 49.5K. The final climb hits you like a wall.
Real quickly here, you know, I really think that what'll have to happen is Tour 2K might have to take like 1, 2, 3, 4 or something along those lines, maybe one Canyon in there. And then DZR and KST will have to put themselves between Canyon and Tour 2K. I think the chances of that happening, like for Tour 2K to take it outright today, you know, somehow right now we would have to see some sort of games, I think, in order for Canyon to be put on a back foot by both of these teams. Or they're going to have to just put themselves between Tour 2K and Canyon on the podiums. So I'm not sure that can happen. It really is Canyons to lose at this point.
Yeah, when you look at it now, it's going to be really interesting. How do you play your cards here? If you're them, are you going to be concerned? Now, I'm talking about Canyon devs. Like, is it more important to put 5 riders in the top 7, or do you really need to get the win out here today to feel good about things? And again, so Tour 2K Callus, that's the team. They are going to open this one up. But here you go. This is going to be the barrage. It is going to be insanity from here on in now. This is quite a group that we're looking at to be going to the finish line with, and they now are just, well, they're about a half kilometer from seeing the red kite that lets us know we're at 1K to go.
Yeah, and Canyon Dev are not on the back foot, it looks like, here at all. 170 beats per minute.
They really are
coming from Jugsman. They're making their way to the front. We see blue kits all over the front, covering every move by Tour 2K, because the only way that Tour 2K can do anything here is forcing them to have some sort of a bobble and find themselves off the back, dropping them somehow. Well, I'm not seeing that happening here. Canyon, they're covering every move. I believe at this point it's a formality as long as they can ride it out to the line.
You know, the only thing I'd say, Nathan, is sometimes when you have teams that are so strong, and referencing Canyon Dev here, other individual riders who have that next level, and to be honest, I'm talking about the DRT guys, in particular Heiberg on the Danish team. You can surprise a strong team, especially when you get 2 strong teams battling over a race win. A third rider can come along from a third team and really surprise them. I don't know if that's going to happen today. It's going to be really, really interesting. Here we go, folks. Buckle up. This one is going to be a thriller. So, all right. Well, Canyon Dev right now is in a really advantageous position, Nathan, but look at what the Tour 2K rider Callus guys are doing. They actually right now might be throwing a bit of a shocker our way. So this one goes back and forth, back and forth. It's going to be body blow after body blow being thrown, but I wouldn't say that Canyon Development is ready to serve up a win quite yet. We got a ways to go here.
Yeah, it's still got about 1.5 K to go or so. So Thomas Tour 2K now taking over the front. We are going to see that was the final kick, that last little 8% gradient on the other side of that climb. We're on the descent of the one that always hurts everybody coming off the other direction. Now we're going down the steep descent, though. Sigsgaard making his way to the front here. We're going through what would be the 1K to go banner here at this point. So about 1K to go from here. And we're going to see those mountain bikes on the right-hand side. And that's usually where we see somebody give a little bit of a kick. Something to do with that section. I think that's the first section where it starts to kick up into the actual King of the Mountain here. We'll see if somebody gives a go, but usually it has not played out for that rider. I've not seen a single one make it happen from this point.
I've never seen anyone attack at 1K out of a group this size and be able to hold on. Right. I mean, that's a huge ask. And there you go. The race really now has come down to this. It looks like Tour 2K Callus is going to make the first big attack here.
He didn't even go into orange numbers. He just slingshotted. That was perfectly played game right there. Now into 8 watts per kilogram. He probably should have pushed orange a little bit earlier.
The Canyon Dev guys have got to be. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Thomas found himself off the front. Like, whoa. Oh, and then he was like, well, I guess I got to go with it here. Canyon Dev, 3 riders. They've covered that, Dave.
Yeah, look at this. Now they're lining it up. This is going to be a tactical masterpiece if what I'm witnessing is going to come true here. So they've made that catch, and now what are they going to play next here? Just keeping the pace really high, being pretty patient about things. The finish line comes up very, very quickly. You can see the splits happening back to the field. Canyon Dev is trying to stack the podium, but Tour 2K Callus is doing a really good job of holding their own. But here you go. Canyon Dev is going to throw it all. More coal on the fire right now, and that's a rolling podium, Nathan. If they can hold on, this is a command performance. They've got the top 3 spots on the road right now. Tour 2K is trying to come in and get into the mix, but Canyon Dev putting on a clinic here in Watopia.
Oh, it was right to the line.
Not quite
there.
1, 2, 3.
Third place. Yeah, Thomas from Tour 2K just able to nip him at the line there. I thought maybe it wasn't going to happen, but was able to was able to get across the line and not allow them to stack that podium there. Nice job by Tor2K with that rider here. Now out to 15th place, as you can see here, it's going to be Dobson and then Valliston here. These are still points on the line. It's going to go all the way to 30th for points here, so this really matters. 15 points for the first one across the line. Here comes Harvey now. OVB, BCEM now trying to make something skyrocket as well, coming out of Germany. Ashford now 6.1 trying to hold on. Not going to be happening. They're going to round this bend and they're going to see the finish line on the distance. Harvey going a little bit early perhaps though. TSK as well as his teammate there, Wiermkamp there, and Lubach now. Both coming out of the Netherlands. Solid move here. Perfectly timed. They're going to see the left-hand turn. It's a little deceiving because there's two left-hand turns here. Not sure exactly where it is sometimes when you're like, come on, can it just finish? And Wiermkamp here is going to have one more kick. Harvey tried to make it happen with that little bit of a kick, but not, well, he's got another one. It looks
These
like
guys are
here.
all in the money. There's at
Lubach.
least 10 riders here that are going to score points. So those 4 all will score. These points matter. These riders are racing to help their team.
Yeah, 100%. And I believe that's just outside here with Ford from the what's that going to be? BRT Tornado. There's so many BRT teams. I absolutely love to see all of the different teams here. Now let's go ahead and take a quick look, though, how that ended up playing out, because that was pretty amazing there, Dave, what Candy was able to do. They almost got a 1-2-3.
You know, they showed a lot of patience and maturity to do this as well. This development team, I would say, is developed as very elite racers. So what you see was almost a sweep of the podium there. And how about the fact that Velez is able to get up there and be a part of that after how active he was out here today? So that's Nathan running us through. You can see this, the second, third, and fourth really close here.
Yeah, and that's going to be 30 points there. Then 29 again. 28 to the third across, but then 27. Canyon Dev, if they're not the top
that's
team,
almost 100 points off of the podium for them.
I mean,
right.
That's pretty amazing there. So huge points they're coming through for Canyon Dev team. Obviously, the dominating team in this pool. Now, we didn't watch the other pools, though, so we have no idea how things ended up playing out with them. Now, next week it will be the TTT, so we might see a totally different story, right? This week, we saw the talents when it came to the punchers. Big foothills, all about that 2 to 7 minute, everything you got. Now, more about an FTP effort next week. More, and it's a much flatter course. We're going to be on RGV in France, so going to be a very different situation when it comes to how people are going to race that. I mean, you're familiar with the TTT. We do it every Thursday with the WTRL. So, and for those of you unfamiliar, like TTT, what? There's a TTT? Yeah, we've been doing one of the largest Zwift events out on Zwift, the largest Zwift event actually, till Zwift Racing Leagues recently launched, and now they're kind of like going head to head for that at this point. But TTT every Thursday, that then ended up coming into the Zwift Racing League, and we're going to have some experienced racers. I'm not sure Canyon Dev are going to have as much experience as some of these other riders out there and other teams out there they're going to have to go against in the TTT.
One of the most unique disciplines in cycling. And I would have to say that if you talk about the women's Socks for Watts teams or the World Elite Zwifters, there are some teams that have fully embraced team time trial racing, and that's going to help an awful lot when we look at how this whole season is going to play out. So, Nathan, my heart actually goes out to the teams that haven't prepared for the team time trial, because I think that there'll be some servings of humble pie being served up when riders realize that this, what sounds so simple, the fourth rider over the line is your time. It's much harder to actually do that with success.
Yeah, and the next week it'll be interesting on RGV as 24.1 kilometers, a much faster situation. We did 50K today. I mean, that was a longer effort, so it's going to be an all-out, like, what do you got for 24K? Very short race compared to what we just watched on a much flatter course. 1 lap. So next Tuesday will be the first time for the team time trial here in the Zwift Racing League, France, RGV. Also, don't forget, we do have every Monday, the Premier League is happening on Mondays over on Zwift Live, and that's with the top teams all qualified to be a part of that race. Also, On Fridays, we've got the World of Zwift, which is going to be with OJ Borg and some of our other talents that are out there that are going to be bringing in information about what all went down this week in the Zwift Racing League. So make sure to catch that show on Fridays. We're going to be back in just a couple hours, actually, not tomorrow. I'm used to saying tomorrow, but no, we'll be back in just a couple hours here with the America's East with myself and Dave, and then it'll be America's West with Dave and Katie Bates. And then also, if you haven't done so already and you're looking to get involved in the Zwift Racing League, go ahead and sign up. They'll open up registration again tomorrow. On Wednesday, they're going to open up registration again. You can register throughout the entirety of the season. It's just they closed it on Sunday because there were so many people registering. They had to slow it down so they could keep track of everyone that was registering, essentially. So, you know, maybe this week they won't have to close it down on Sunday because we might not have a huge influx of like 1,200 teams and 6,000 racers. So RGV next week, though, if anybody wants to get involved, make sure to jump on in. Dave, great racing so far. I look forward to the rest of the day.
We just did 3 hours of bike racing coverage, and I'm ready for more. This is awesome. Absolutely awesome. Good job out there, everybody. Look forward to seeing you later.
Yeah, appreciate all of you. Make sure to hit those follow buttons on Zwift Community Live. Subscribe to all that stuff so you know whenever we do schedule a new race. We'll see you in just a couple hours for the America's East. And that's going to be a super exciting race. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. As always, ride on.